What is the book of Jasher? What is the book of Jasher? Now, I'm not going to lie. I have my reservations with the book of Jasher because just like the King James, certain things have been doctored to a certain degree, to a certain extent. What do I mean by that? For example, Catholicism, you could say that they were adding to the Bible. You know, they were adding to the Bible. They have their own 10 commandments. They took out uh, one commandment and replaced it with two commandments. So they added and took away, you could say. And then you had the Protestant church. They also castrated the Bible too. You know, the Bible says not to add to or take away. You had the Catholics adding to, taking away, and Protestantism adding to and taking away. Yeah. So a lot of the times, if you're a Catholic, you're taught to hate Protestants. If you're a Protestant, you're taught to hate Catholics. But to be honest, it's a Eurocentric religio-political system that's based on, not really based on the Bible, but it's got little trinkets of truth and little tokens and vestiges of truth. But ultimately, it's still a springboard for white supremacy. But anyway, boom. Book of Jasher. Go to Joshua 10:13. It says, "And the sun stood still, and the moon stayed until the people had avenged themselves upon their enemies." Is not this written in the book of Jasher? So the sun stood still in the midst of heaven, and hasted not to go down about a whole day. 2 Samuel chapter 1 verse 18. Also he bade them teach the children of Judah the use of the bow. Behold, it is written in the book of Jasher. Now, why I have my reservations with the book of Jasher is because when you read the book of Jubilees, sometimes there's a bit of conflict. Yeah? So that's my only reservation. Now, you can either say Jubilees is this or Jasher is this, but it is what it is. But between the books, you can always, with precept upon precept, extract a lot of things that you wouldn't read necessarily when you're reading the conventional Bible. Yeah, so it's very good to highlight, examine, and magnify what's already there. Okie dokie. And this is a prime example. This is a prime example. So, in Book of Jasher 10 verse 8, it says, let's start this thing here. Book of Jasher 10 verse 8. "And the children of Gomer, according to their cities, were the Franken, who dwelt in the land of Franca, by the river Franca, by the river Sina or Sena." Now, this is very interesting. If you look at this emblem, yeah, it is a coat of arms of the France under Emperor Napoleon I. So that is the emblem. If you look at the Abraham Lincoln Memorial, I believe, statues, you'll see, let me get my arrow. Always leave the arrow out, you know. Let's get this arrow on the go. Boom, boom, boom. Right, so there's the arrow. So yeah, this is you'll find this symbol on the Lincoln Memorial, I believe, or certain statues. This is very prevalent. Man like Larry Johnson will be able to break down all these codes because that's Larry Johnson's forte at the moment. It's just kicking off heads with truth when it comes to all these symbolisms. So that's that. Actually, on that same topic of symbolisms, let me throw something in so you guys can see if this works. All right. Have I got it? Right there. Sorry guys, 2 seconds. Just trying to find this quote. Nope. Yeah, I don't think I can find it right now. All right, I'll probably find the quote later unless it pops up in the next 3 seconds. 4, 1, 2, 3. Nope. Oh yeah, I found it. Okay, so I'll just whack this in here, and I'll whack this in here too. So when it comes to these symbols, yeah, this is how the elite run the world. Yeah, they don't really run the world through words and verbs and proverbs necessarily. They organize themselves through codes. So Manly Hall, he was actually a church minister, you know. He was a Freemason church minister, and he was also a Freemason law of attraction mystic. So you know, like a lot of people are talking about law of attraction, and it's basically It's like, what's it like? What's a good comparison? It's like a carbon copy of the Ten Commandments in terms of to say, just do what you want and don't be negative, just be positive. Just be positive and don't be negative. That's the law of attraction. Yeah, it's about positivity. So the reason why it's bad, even though it sounds good, is because what he's saying is you can be happy in sin. Yeah, you can just be happy, like, commit adultery and just be happy. It's a YOLO mentality, but it's very subtle because it appeases to the human heart. That's why it's very powerful in a way, this law of attraction stuff. But he said symbolism is the language of the mysteries. By symbols, men have ever sought to communicate to each other those thoughts which transcend the limitation of language. Now, coming off the topic so much on this one, if you look at the bottom, you'll see the dollar bill. Next to that, you'll see the sterling pound, 20 pound, should I say. And then next to that, you'll see, what was that? It's not a shekel, but it's a coin that was given to Israel by France. Yeah. So I'm just showing you how they communicate through symbology and language like that. Yeah. So it's not surprising that when you look at the France coat of arms, you see this eagle. And I was just showing you that this thing here has a lot of messages in it, especially the axe and this, that, and the other. What's this guy saying now? Yeah, he's chatting some rubbish as well. Man's three bodies are symbolized by an upright triangle. This is threefold spiritual nature and inherited triangle. I don't know. These two triangles, when united in the form of the six-pointed star, were called by the Jews the Star of David. The Signet of Solomon are more commonly known today as the Star of Zion. Yeah, so I'm just showing you that they just do things with symbols and they just talk to each other through that kind of language. So back to Jasher. And the children of Gomer, according to their cities, were the Frankum, who dwelt in the land of Franza, by the river Franza, by the river Sina. And I'm just showing you that this, when you research Frankum, you'll come up with this emblem, and it's a insignia for the Emperor Napoleon. All right, so I'm just showing you that. Now, Frankum, the surname Frankum was first found in Huntingdonshire, where they held a family seat as lords of the manor. The Saxon influence of English history diminished after the Battle of Hastings, 1066. The language of the courts was French. Wow, okay. For the next 3 centuries, and Norman ambience prevailed, but Saxon surname survived, and the family name was first referenced in the 13th century when they held estates in that shire. Interesting. So just from that one verse in Jasher, I've been able to just dig up certain people's history and where they fit in Bible, in the Bible narrative, what nation they fall under. So they talk about the sons of Japheth and talk about the children of Gomer, and one of the children of Gomer established the Frankum, or if we're going to use modern language today, France, for want of a better word. Okay. Quick water break. So it says this is just a quick quote from Wiki. You can even see certain symbols in the corner, but I won't get into that. What does it say? Boom, bam, bing. The Franks were a group of Germanic peoples, whose name was first mentioned in the 3rd century Roman sources, and associated with tribes between the Lower Rhine and the Elms River on the edge of the Roman Empire. Later, the term was associated with the Romanized Germanic dynasties within the collapsing Western Roman Empire, who eventually commanded the whole region between the river of Luri, Rhine. They imposed power over many other post-Roman kingdoms and Germanic people. Still, later, Frankish rulers were given recognition by the Catholic Church as successors to the old rulers of the Western Roman Empire. Shall I read on? I'll read on. Although the Frankish name does not appear until the 3rd century at least some of the original Frankish tribes had long been known to the Romans under their own names, both as allies providing soldiers and as enemies, sorry. The new name first appears when the Romans and their allies were losing control of the Rhine region. The Franks were first reported as working together to raid Roman territory. However, from the beginning, the Franks also suffered attacks upon them from outside their frontier area by the Saxons, for example. And as frontier tribes, they desired to move into Roman territory with which they had centuries of close contact. The Germanic tribes, which formed the Frankish Federation in late antiquity, are associated with the Weser Rhine Germanic, can't pronounce that, cultural linguistic grouping. Yeah, so just by that one little reference, and this is why I like the book as well, you know, because it just breaks down who people are in real time. Yeah, where it's like they took this book out, in my opinion, and they played with it and fluffed with it, like, you know, was doing fluffy stuff with it. But the reason they took it out, in my opinion, is because it kind of highlights who people are today. You know, it's not ambiguous. It's not, you know, could it be him? Could it be her? It just highlights who people were. And, you know, these people are always rebranding themselves, remodeling themselves, changing their flag, changing their name, changing their this, changing their that, but deep down knowing who they are. So I just found that interesting. And I thought, why? Let me just share that quickly as an opener. Now let's get into the actual study. So I'm assuming everyone's familiar with the Genesis account. I was going to play an audio clip so that everybody would be on the same wave, same page. But you can always, you know, everyone's got time now. You can proof check, be a Berean, cross-reference everything I'm saying. Don't just believe me, but do your due diligence to check, verify, cross-examine, yada, yada, yada. All right. So Genesis 25, 20 to 27. And Isaac was 40 years old. Okay, I always do this, you know. I'm going to ask questions, and then from the questions, you're going to get the answers. All right. So it says, these two sons represent two what? Who would serve who? What differences are mentioned between them? How old was Isaac when he had his sons? Okay, loads of bad typing in there. So, and Isaac was 40 years old when he took Rebekah to wife, the daughter of Bethuel, the Syrian, of Banaram, the sister to Laban, the Assyrian. So some of you guys probably listening right now, probably licking 20, 30, 40, probably all hitting 50. And you might be thinking, where's my Mr. Right? Where's my Mrs. Right? Yeah. And Isaac, boy, big 40-year-old, you know. Like that film 40-Year-Old Virgin, big 40-year-old before he got to Rebecca, you know. So be encouraged, yeah. Don't start wandering like driftwood on that. And Isaac entreated the Lord for his wife because she was barren. And the Lord was entreated of him. And Rebekah, his wife, conceived. And the children struggled together within her. And she said, if it be so, why am I thus? And she went to inquire of the Lord. And the Lord said unto her, 2 nations are in thy womb, and 2 manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels. And the one shall be stronger than the other, and the elder shall serve the younger. And when her days to be delivered were fulfilled, behold, there were twins in the womb. And the first came out red, all over, like a hairy garment, and they called his name Esau. And after that came his brother out, and his hand took hold of Esau's heel, and his name was called Jacob. And Isaac was 80 old when she bare them. So 80, I think it's, yeah. Is it 60? 320s? Yeah, I think it is. And the boys grew, and Esau was a cunning hunter and a man of the field, and Jacob was a plain man, dwelling in tents. So, just reading that, what did the 2 sons represent? They represent 2 nations, 2 totally different manner of people, yeah? And they were to be separated from the bowels. So as soon as they were, not conception, delivered, they were like 2 chalk and cheese, chalk and cheese. If you've heard that analogy before, chalk and cheese. who would serve who was the next question. It said the elder shall serve the younger. Interesting. What differences are mentioned between them? Verse 27 says Esau was a cunning hunter and a man of the field. So he was an outdoor guy, kill a giraffe, kill a rhino, kill a deer, cut off the deer's head, hang it on a wall as a I don't know, furniture, kill a leopard, skin it, and put it on my floor as a rug. He was that kind of guy. It says, and Jacob was a plain man, very simple, wasn't really materialistic, kept it moving, going to the shop, he spent 2 minutes max and come out, yeah, with lentils. So very different people. He was an indoor guy. Esau was an outdoor guy. Let's read what Jasher says regarding the account. And Isaac, the son of Abraham, was 60 years old when he begat them. So, yeah, 3 scores, 320, so that's 60. And the boys grew up to their 15th year, sort of teenagers, and they came amongst the society of men. Esau was a designing and deceitful man, and an expert hunter in the field. And Jacob was a perfect and wise, dwelling in tents, feeding flocks, and learning the instructions of the Lord and the commands of his father and mother. So it's kind of, like I said, it's like a, what do you call it? Polar opposites, yeah? Jacob went left, he'd go right. Jacob was quiet, he was loud. Well, Jacob was loud, he was quiet. They were just chalk and cheese. Now, some people make the case that Esau was what we would call white in appearance. Yeah. Some others make the case that he was a redskin. Like when we say a light brother, we say, oh, he's a redskin. Or like when you see what's that NFL team, the Redskin Indians, and all this kind of stuff. So people say this, people say that. I'm not gonna say what I believe in. I'm not gonna say what I believe and throw people off, but it's just interesting how it's kind of left open. But when you connect certain dots, you can kind of see who it could possibly be. But that's another story that we can cover another day. So, let's look at the differences according to Jubilees. So let's look at the differences. Jubilees 1914, and the youths grew, and Jacob learned to write, but Esau did not learn. But he was a man of the field and a hunter, and he learned war, and all his deeds were fierce. So, again, Jacob, a man who just liked to write, poetry, chill, kind of laid back in that kind of respect potentially, but were very astute, wanted to learn. Esau, again, polar opposite, man who just handy with his hands, make a tent, he was just outside doing his thing, Bear Grylls. He was a Bear Grylls kind of guy, to be fair. That's what comes into my mind, SAS guy, going around, killing hippos, using this, that, and the other, just surviving outside, outdoors, where Jacob was just like, boy, just give me something to do constructively and I'll do that. I'm not really an outside guy. I'm not saying that if you go outside, there's anything wrong with that. I'm just trying to paint a picture and, play with the scenario. So anyway, let's see what Abraham thought of would they be his grandsons? I guess they're his grandsons. Let's see what Abraham thought of his grandsons. He said he loved Jacob, but Isaac loved Esau. So Abraham, his preference was Jacob, but Isaac's preference was Esau. Jubilees 1916. And Abraham saw the deeds of Esau. Now we're going to find out why he didn't just one day just have a preference, just, being nasty, like, okay, the twins, there's nothing really separating them really apart from their appearance. The twins, like, it's kind of difficult to discriminate. So he goes, and Abraham saw the deeds of Esau, and he knew that in Jacob should his name and seed be called, and he called Rebekah, and gave commandment regarding Jacob, for he knew that he, or that she too, loved Jacob much more than Esau. So in the Bible, you don't really get this clip that Abraham was kind of the one who gave the counsel to Rebecca. You don't really get that insight, but you get the insight when you read the Jubilees account. Jubilees 19:19. And behold, Isaac my son loves Esau more than Jacob, but I see that thou lovest Jacob. That's him talking again to Rebecca. And again, Rebecca. And Rebecca loved Jacob with all her heart and with all her soul, very much more than Esau. But Isaac loved Esau much more than Jacob. Now we're going to go through and look at why, what did they do, what did they not do, what's with this whole preference thing, how come this mum likes this son, that dad likes that son, granddad likes that one. We know it happens, it even happens in our families too. You know, if you're the middle child, you just get kicked around like you're just nothing. Usually, and I say usually very lightly, if you're the youngest, you get spoilt rotten like Joseph, you know, get the nice coat, bling bling, you're kind of a spoilt guy as well. When you're the elder, there's a lot of pressure, responsibilities, and this, that, the other. So why are people discriminating? Like, why is this family seeming a bit kind of crazy? Like, your mummy's got favorites and daddy's got favorites. Let's be real. Some of us in our families too fully have favorites, you know. I ain't gonna lie. Some of us have favorites. It is what it is. Is what I'm saying. All right, well, let's read. And Esau was continually hunting in the fields to bring home what he could get. So did Esau all the days. This is Jasher 28, by the way, verse 19. And Esau was a designing, that means he's very meticulous when it came to his trade of deceit. One who hunted after the hearts of men and indulged them. So he's one of those guys who is coming after your heart, you know. On some Elvis Presley thing, like, don't break my heart, my itty bitty heart. I think that's him. But anyway, he's on that heart thing. He's trying to track, he's trying to, you know. And Esau was a valiant man in the field, and in the course of time went as usual to hunt. And he came as far as the field of Seir. The same is Edom. So, who schooled Jacob? Who was the one who schooled Jacob? Jasher 28 verse 18. Again, we don't really hear a lot about Shem or Eber or Abraham. It kind of just skips, like you're watching a film and you press fast forward ×4 and it just skips. But this is like filling in the gaps between the skips. Yeah? So it says, who schooled Jacob? At that time, Isaac sent his younger son Jacob to the house of Shem and Eber, and he learned the instructions of the Lord. And Jacob remained in the house of Shem and Eber for 32 years. And Esau his brother did not go, for he was not willing to go. And he remained in his father's house in the land of Canaan. So again, you got the two sons. Like, what did Esau prefer? He preferred to just be outside hunting, living free. Jacob, he was more concerned with learning, self-control, self-restraint. So two different mindsets, but twins, you know. Twins, born the same day, in the same way. Twins, but different mindset. Yeah? I wanted to share something actually, just on that Eber point. I just have to throw it in, if I can find it. I think I've covered it before. You know, I was just going to make a reference to Eber and how when it's, I believe when it gives the genealogy of Shem, it just mentions Eber randomly. Just randomly throws out Eber. You're like, why are you throwing out Eber so randomly when it's got nothing really to do with Eber at that point? But I'll hold that and remind me towards the end and I'll show you. All right, let's continue. Okay, so we see how the two sons do things in a different way. From the same family, same mummy, same daddy, same granddaddy. It's, you know, it's a family, bit of disunity, which most families have, yeah? we're seeing how they're two different manner of people, two different nations. Physically, they look different. Mentally, they are different. Just not going to be agreeable. Yeah, not going to get on. It's just as plain as that. However, many of us, we hear the story of how Esau just one day was hungry and just said, okay, I'm hungry. Let me just sell my birthright. Let's look at that story now with more context to that. Because although they're different and they operate in different ways, it just seems a bit random that one day, post famine, I believe, or it's probably, I should probably have got detection on, because there was a famine in and around that time. But he just one day smells what his brother's cooking, said, "Why? That smells nice, you know. Jerk lentils, curry lentils, curried lentils, lentil curry." He was just happy and excited and said, "Yeah, man, I'll sell my birthright for that." There could be a little bit more to that. So let's dig in and let's see what actually was going down. And when Nimrod, okay, let's read the questions. Which sons had war? Who won the battle? What did the winner do / place? And when Nimrod was 40 years old, at that time there was war between his brethren and the children of Japheth, so that they were in the power of their enemies. So Nimrod was in the power of their enemies, the sons of Japheth at this time. And Nimrod went forth at that time, and he assembled all the sons of Cush and their families, about 460 men. And he hired also from some of his friends and acquaintances about 80 men. And he gave them their hire, and he went with them to the battle. And when he was on the road, Nimrod strengthened the hearts of the people that were with him. Okay. And he said to them, "Do not fear, neither be alarmed, for all our enemies will be delivered into our hands, and you may do with them as you please." And all the men that were with, you know what? I don't know if you guys watched, yeah, where the African guy from Nigeria, he says, "We rebuke you, Melinda Gates, and we throw it back at you." I like this guy's the way he just says. He said to them, "Don't fear, neither be alarmed, for all our enemies will be delivered into our hands, and you may do with them as you please." Like he's just got that confidence. He made that pronunciation, similar to that guy who made the pronunciation too. You know, fellow Igbo, Nigerian. I think he was I can't remember his actual rank. I think he's probably a pastor or something. But he just declared it. Because notice the battle hasn't been fought yet, but this guy's just confidently saying, "Boy, we've got this we've got this. This battle's already won." Is what I'm saying, and we're just going to defeat them. Verse 36 that was. Now verse 37, and all the men that went were about 500, and they fought against their enemies, and they destroyed them and subdued them, and Nimrod placed standing officers over them in their respective places. And he took some of their children as security, and they were all servants to Nimrod and to his brethren, and Nimrod and all the people that were with him turned homeward. And when Nimrod had joyfully returned from battle, after having conquered his enemies, all his brethren together with those who knew him before assembled to make him king over them, and they placed the regal crown upon his head. Yeah, so there's a battle between Japheth and Ham. Ham was victorious over Japheth, and Nimrod was crowned sovereign over the nations at that time. So he was running the whole show. Yeah, very interesting. So which sons had war? Ham, the sons of Ham and the sons of Japheth. Who won the battle? Nimrod, who was a son of Cush. What did the winner do or place? Nimrod placed officers over them in respective places. And this is like I was saying to you the last Sabbath that we had a study. This is a normal thing that people do. Like Nebuchadnezzar did it. He took people, brainwashed them, what do you call it? Babylonianized them, westernized them, fill in the blanks, and then he set them up as puppet rulers. Now, it doesn't say that he went to this extent, but he does say that he placed officers in their respective places. Now, could assume, so this is just me assuming, not the gospel, could assume that he used some of the captives that he had as security and put them in certain places, just like Nebuchadnezzar did, just like every ruler has done. You always take the youth, brainwash them against their own people, and then send them back to rule as a puppet ruler for you, and they're your eyes and ears. Yeah? Just something that usually happens. But there we see the story. Very interesting. Let's continue. And notwithstanding this, Nimrod did not return to the Lord, and he continued in wickedness and teaching wickedness to the sons of men. And Mardon, his son, was worse than his father, and continued to add to the abomination of his father. And he caused the sons of men to sin. Therefore it is said, from the wicked goeth forth wickedness. And at that time there was war between the families of the children of Ham, as they were dealing in the cities which they had built. Again, sorry, Salaki, read the question. What was Abraham's granddad called? What was Abraham's father called? Which sons were at war? So previously we saw, get my arrow again. Yeah, so previously we saw that it was Ham versus Japheth, and Ham beat Japheth. Now, potentially at this time in the history of things, everyone was consolidated more or less here. Yeah, they started to slowly spread out. Yeah, they started to slowly spread out. It's not like the Tower of Babel happened and it was like, yeah. But because of the confusion of tongues, of languages, people started to slowly spread out. The ones who spoke the certain dialect went a certain way, and the others who spoke the certain dialect went another way. So it was a gradual thing, but they did eventually start separating. But during this particular time, everyone was more or less concentrated in a certain location, yeah, and then over time started to spread out, like I said, due to the Tower of Babel. So we saw a minute ago how Japheth was beefing with Ham. Ham beat Japheth. Now we've got an internal dispute between Ham and Ham. And at that time there was war between the families of the children of Ham. And they were dwelling in the cities which they had built. So they kicked these guys out or had war with them. They're living in their own little utopia of Hamville. And then these Hamites had beef with one another too. So the Cushites had beef with the Mizraim and this, that, and the other, and it went back and forth for the Canaanites and blah, blah, blah. And Shalo Lamoda, I can't pronounce that name, this name here, Sherdol Laomer, the king of Elam, went away from the families of the children of Ham. This guy, Elam, he's a son of Shem, so he belongs to these people. He's a Shemite, yeah? Now this king, king of Elam, went away from the families of the children of Ham, and he fought with them, subdued them, and he went to the 5 cities of the plain, and he fought against them and subdued them, and they were under his control, and they served him 12 years, and they gave him a yearly tax. And at the time died Nahor, the son of Surug, in the 49th year of the life of Abram, the son of Terah. And in the 50th year of the life of Abram, son of Terah, Abram came forth from the house of Noah, and went to his father's house. And Abram, knew the Lord, and he went in the ways and instructions, and the Lord his God was with him. And Terah his father was in those days still captain of the host of the king of Nimrod, and he still followed strange gods. So to answer the question, what was Abraham's granddad called? His granddad was called Nahor. What was Abraham's father called? His father was called Terah. Which sons were at war? The children of Ham. I'm going to keep this arrow so I can have it on the next slide. So, giving that backdrop for a reason, because oftentimes, like I said, Esau just got up one day on a lazy thing, couldn't be bothered to cook no stew, walked up to his brother and said, yo, what you're cooking smells really scrumptious, very tasty, very delectable. Can you please give me a few servings? And not just a few servings, but I'm even willing, I'm hungry, I'm going to die. It feels like I'm so hungry, I feel like I'm going to die. So I'm just going to sell my birthright, because, it's the best thing to do. Is there more to it than that, or was that just how it went down? So let's find out. And Esau at that time, after the death of Abraham, frequently went into the field to hunt. And what I should have mentioned as well, there was a prophecy mentioned in the book of Jasher that one of Abraham's posterity was going to put an end to Nimrod. Yeah? So that's kind of the context behind verse 2 and verse 3, or verse 3, should I say. And Esau at that time, after the death of Abraham, frequently went into the field to hunt. And Nimrod, the king of Babel, the same was Amraphel, also frequently went with his mighty men to hunt in the field and to walk about with his men in the cool of the day. Means this place was hot, Even the Hamites couldn't take it. It was like, why? You have to walk out in the cool of the day. Anyway, and Nimrod was observing Esau all the days, for a jealousy was formed in his heart, formed in the heart of Nimrod against Esau all the days. Because he's looking at, he's sitting back. He knows there's a prophecy that's been given that one of the sons of Shem, or being more particular, one of the sons of Abraham, who is also a son of Shem, one of his posterity is going to kill me. And he's looking at, he must be just thinking, why? Well, there's not a lot of them right now. There's Ishmael. I'm kind of all right with him. He's cool, potentially. There's Isaac. He's kind of cool, safe with him. Sometimes we play dominoes. Then he's looking at Jacob. He's like, boy, well, he looks kind of too smooth, too groomed, too educated to do me nothing. Then he's looking at man like Esau, and he's like, boy, sir, Esau just looks rowdy, Esau looks like, boy, if I stepped on his shoes, you just do a Cain and go on Millie. Or was it Tubal Cain, or one of Cain's posterity went on crazy like that? So he's weighing up the options, and he's thinking, boy, if any one of Abraham's children is going to deal with me in a certain way, it could only stand to reason to be Esau, So he was a bit on edge, a bit cautious, when it came to Esau for that reason. And he said, and Nimrod was observing Esau all the days, for a jealousy was formed in the heart of Nimrod against Esau all the days. And on a certain day, Esau went into the field to hunt, and he found Nimrod walking in the wilderness with 2 men, and all his mighty men, and his people were with him in the wilderness, but they removed at a distance from him, and they went from him in different directions to hunt. And Esau concealed himself for Nimrod, and he lurked for him in the wilderness. And Nimrod and his men that were with him did not know him. And Nimrod and his men frequently walked about in the field at the cool of the day, and to know where his men were hunting in the field. So his men are gone out to hunt in the field, and Nimrod's walking around with some of his goons, just to keep tabs on the workers, And Nimrod and 2 of his men that were with him came to the place where they were. The workers, when Esau started suddenly from his lurking place, and drew his sword, and hastened, and ran to Nimrod, and cut off his head. And Esau fought a desperate fight with the 2 men that were with Nimrod. And when they were called out to him, Esau turned to them and smote them to death with his sword. So who was Nimrod wary of? We answered, Esau. What were Nimrod and Esau known for? They were known for being hunters. Nimrod was known as a mighty man. Esau equally was known as a expert hunter. So when these 2 people with the same kind of mindset came together, they clashed. But not only that, according to the book of Jasher, there was a prophecy that Abraham's posterity would put an end to Nimrod and his kingdom because of Nimrod's sin. But that's that. So now let's read the account of Jacob and Esau with this context in mind. So, and Esau fought a desperate fight with the two men that were with Nimrod. And when they called out to him, Esau turned to them, smote them with his sword. And all the mighty men of Nimrod who had left him to go to the wilderness heard the cry at a distance, and they knew the voices of the two men, they knew the voices of those two men, and they ran to know the cause of it. When they found their king and the two men that were with him lying dead in the wilderness. And when Esau saw the mighty men of Nimrod coming at a distance, he fled and thereby escaped. And Esau took the valuable garment of Nimrod, which Nimrod's father, Ham, bequeathed to Nimrod, and with which Nimrod prevailed over the whole land, and he ran and concealed them in his house. My question is, what did Esau take? Verse 10, he took a valuable garment. Interesting. Where did he hide this valuable garment? He says he concealed it in his house. So he hid it in his house. Now, what was special about it? I don't actually say on the particular slide, so I'll tell you, and you could do your own research and do your own comparisons and this, that, the other. Allegedly, according to the Jasher account, when they went in to see Noah in a state of nakedness, Ham actually stole the fleece that had been handed down to Noah, and handed down from Noah to Shem, and handed down from Shem to Enoch, and handed down from Enoch to all the way up to, what's his name, Seth, and from Seth to Adam. So it was Adam's garment, effectively. That's what Book of Jasher highlights. Yeah, so that's the account that is written in Jasher. Like, they went in and Ham took this garment and hid it, and that's why he got into trouble. He weren't having intercourse with his dad or interrelations, but that's the account that he says. Believe it, chuck it away. I'm just throwing it out there, showing you what's in the Jasher account, and that's what it says. I know some people use a scripture where it says he uncovered his nakedness, talking about doing something physically. I'm not going to debate. I'm just throwing out what it says in the Jasher account. Everyone be persuaded in their own mind to check it out, proof text it, validate it, this, that, and the other. Yeah? But anyway, so that's that account. So what did he take? He took a valuable garment. Interesting. Make a mental note of that. And he hid it in his house. And I've just told you what was special about it. And again, and Esau took the garments and ran into the city on account of Nimrod's men. And he came unto his father's house wearied and exhausted from fight, and he was ready to die through grief, when he approached his brother Jacob and sat before him. And he said unto his brother Jacob, Behold, I shall die this day. And therefore then do I want the birthright. And Jacob acted wisely with Esau in this matter. And Esau sold his birthright to Jacob, for it was brought about by the Lord. And Esau's portion, so this was what was actually being sold or being forfeited as well. And Esau's portion in the cave field of Machpelah, which Abraham had brought from the children of Heth. Heth, that's going to come up again, make a mental note of the children of Heth. It's another name for Canaan or Canaanites. For the possession of a burial ground. Esau also sold to Jacob, and Jacob brought all this from his brother Esau for value given. Let me read that again because that was terrible. I'm getting a bit sluggish. And Esau's portion in the cave field of Machpelah, which Abraham had brought from the children of Heth for the possession of a burial ground, Esau also sold to Jacob, and Jacob brought all this from his brother Esau for value given. Now, again, like I said, people say many things when it comes to the appearance of Esau. Yeah, some people say he was just a very, very hairy looking Scandinavian, European looking person. Yeah, someone like Donald Trump, and they say there's no such thing as white people. There's only red, because you can see, like, kind of like fluorescent. You can see through, and you can see the vessels and the blood swirling through. So people say, yeah, man, he was red like that, a red hairy man. Yeah? Not limited just to Donald Trump, but you get what I'm trying to say. And then other people make the argument that he was red skin, ruddy, in a sense of, ruddy can mean this is what people say, and ruddy can just mean a light skinned brother per se. So they're the two arguments that often float around. Now, whether you lean onto this one, or whether you lean onto this one, the characteristics will kind of single out who it could potentially be. But let's continue. Also, to give me a little bit of break, we're going to have a quiz in a bit, so I can have a little bit of a breather. Alright, so let's continue, and we're going to find out the same account now in Genesis 27, verse 1 to 8. Remember, he took a garment, yeah? And what else do I want you guys to think about? Took a garment. Okay, you'll come back to me. Alright, let's hear the story. You know what? I didn't put the story in, It was actually, I think I have, but it's later in. It's not in a chronological order on this one. Salaki. The story was supposed to be, actually, is it? I think it is, Is it this one? All right. No, I think it is. Okay. Let's just go for it. If it's not, it's not. And I'll look towards the end for it. But I'm sure it is. Or if it's not on this slide, it's coming up. But anyway. And it came to pass that when Isaac was old and his eyes were dim, so that he could not see, he called Esau his eldest son, and said unto him, My son. And he said unto him, Behold, here am I. And he said, Behold, now I am old, and I know not the day of my death. Now therefore take, I pray thee, thy weapons, thy quiver, and thy bow, and go out to the field, and take me some venison, and make me a savoury meat, such as I love, and bring it to me, that I may eat, that my soul may bless thee before I die. And Rebekah heard when Isaac spake to Esau his son, and Esau went to the field to hunt for venison, and to bring it. And Rebekah spake unto Jacob her son, saying, Behold, I heard thy father speak unto Esau thy brother, saying, Bring me venison, and make me savoury meat, that I may eat and bless thee before my death. Then she says, Now therefore, my son, obey my voice according to what I command thee. Go now to the flock and fetch me. Oh, got it there. And fetch, where am I? And fetch me hence 2 good kids of goats, and I will make them savoury meat for thy father, such as he loveth. And thou shalt bring it to thy father, and that he may eat, and that he may bless thee before his death. And Jacob said to Rebekah his mother, Behold, Esau my brother is a hairy man, and I am a smooth man. Now, when you look up what Jacob's name was, so the question was, although they were twins, what stood out about Esau? Apparently, according to Jacob, he was very, very smooth, but his brother was very, very hairy, so red and hairy. And according to, what did Rebekah ask Isaac to bring? She asked him to bring 2 kids, 2 goats. And when you use the concordance and you look up the name Jacob, it means a heel catcher, a supplanter. Jacob, the Israelitish, don't know why it's got Israelitish, patriarch. And how you pronounce it is Yah-Akobi. Yah-Akobi. That's how you say his name. Yah-Akobi. You get that arrow. Someone that can see. Okay, no arrow there, so. So here you say Yah-Akobi. Jacob, Yah-Akobi. How old was Esau? Okay, why is that in there like this? All right, 1 second. All right, yeah, it's fixed. How old was Esau when he married? How did he marry? Oh, sorry, who did he marry? They were known as the daughters of what? And how did his parents feel? Genesis 26, 34 to 35. And Esau was 40 years old when he took to wife Judith, the daughter of Beri, the Hittite, and Bashemath, the daughter of Elon, the Hittite. So he married 2 Hittite women, which were a grief of mind unto Isaac and to Rebekah. So these 2 women that he married were a grief unto Isaac and unto Rebekah. And we're going to find out why very shortly, or through the study. Jasher account 28 verse 22 to 23. And Esau there saw in the land of Seir the daughter of a man of Canaan, and her name was Judith, the daughter of Beri, the son of Ephah, from the families of Heth, the son of Canaan. And Esau took her for a wife, and he came unto her 40 years old. And he came unto her 40 years old was Esau when he took her, and he brought her to Hebron, the land of his father's dwelling place, and he dwelt there. Yeah? So how old was Esau when he got married? He was 40 years old according to Genesis 26 verse 34. How many women did he marry and where were they from? He married 2 women, and they were Hittites, and Hittites are the son of Canaan, so they were Canaanites from the seed of Ham. How did his parents feel about this union? How did his parents feel? Were they happy, not happy? Why? Which were a grief of mind unto Isaac and to Rebekah. And as we go through, we're going to find out why they were a particular grief, according to the Jasher account. Now, I'm going to have a quick break. I'm going to put a quiz up for you guys to look at. Genesis 27:12 to 20 to 22. What did Jacob say his father would call him? We looked at his name. It means a supplanter, somebody who grabs the heel. Jacobi is his name, which people say Yakub, or they say Jacob, but there's no J, so it is what it is. But he said, my father peradventure will fill me, and I shall seem to him a deceiver. So he was like, raw, my dad's going to touch me and be like, yo, this ain't the hairy one, this ain't the red one. And he's going to say, yo, you're just a little deceiver. And I shall bring a curse upon me, and not a blessing. And his mother said unto him, upon me be thy curse, my son. Only obey my voice and go fetch me them. Talking about the kids, so she could do the nice stew, the venison stew. And he went and fetched and brought them to his mother, and his mother made savory meat, such as his father loved. And Rebekah took the goodly raiment. We just looked at what that raiment was, Now we're going to see, okay, that wasn't just a random thing that the Bible put in there when it said goodly raiment. Where was this raiment from? How did he attain the raiment? Let's find out. It looks like Esau dealt with Nimrod, took the raiment and was flexing it every day of the week. Like, yo, this is my Nimrod jacket. He's just wearing his Nimrod jacket all around the place, And Rebekah took the goodly raiment of her eldest son Esau. We know where that raiment came from now, which were with her in the house. And we know that Esau put them in the house and put them upon Jacob, her younger son. So she took this raiment that Esau had, taken from Nimrod, which Ham had given to, I can't recall the event chronologically. I just know it came from Adam all the way down to Noah. Noah had it robbed from Ham, and then Ham passed it on to the son of Cush, who turned out to be Nimrod, and that's what happened. And she put the skins of the kids of the goats upon his hands and upon the smooth of his neck. So she killed these little kids, not people, goats, whatever, baby, whatever, goats, and dressed him in that so it looked like he would resemble his brother. And then with the carcass now, she cooked some meat, some stew, whatever. She gave the savory meat and the bread which she had prepared into the hand of her son Jacobi. And he came unto his father and said, my father. And he said, here am I. Who art thou, my son? And Jacob said unto his father, I am Esau, thy firstborn. I have done according as thou badest me. Arise, I pray thee, sit and eat, of my venison, that thy soul may bless thee. And Isaac said unto his son, How is it that thou hast found it so quickly, my son? And he said, Because the Lord thy God brought it to me. Boy, what a lie. Wow. And Isaac said unto Jacob, Come near, I pray thee, that I may feel thee, my son, whether thou be my very son Esau or not. And Jacob went near unto Isaac his father, and he felt him, and said, The voice is Jacob's voice, but the hands, but the hands are the hands of Esau. So he's saying, Boy, I hear what you're saying, son. You sound like Jacob though, but you feel like Esau. So he was blindsided. Now let's continue. Now there was a blessing that Jacob usurped, you could say, even though the blessing was coming to him anyway, which we'll look at in another study. But anyway, and you know what as well, on that same point, his mom was the one, based on the counsel given to Abraham, put the plan in motion for that, to that degree, to that extent. Obviously Abraham was dead at that time, but Abraham showed favor to Jacob, and then his mom showed favor to Jacob, and this, that, the other. And what I was going to say is, many a times, no disrespect to the ladies, they give certain counsel and it just goes a bit wonky. For example, Hagar and Sarah. Sarah's like, yo, I'm hitting menopause. I can't stay faithful. I can't have a baby at these times. Look, man, I'm getting a bit on, I'm having hot flushes. I can't have no kids. You're crazy. Take Hagar, and Hagar will be my surrogate. Likewise, when you get to Rachel, did not Rachel have that same mentality too? She said, take my handmaids and they can be my surrogates. So even though the kids were born to these handmaids, Rachel was their mom, if that makes sense. So we see the first form of surrogacy in the tribes. Interesting. Now people do this in real time, where a man will freeze his sperm, or freeze, might have kids listening, but freeze certain things and have it implanted into a woman. Certain same-sex communities now will have women incubators so that they can have seeds and have posterity with me. So it's just there's nothing literally new under the sun, is what I'm trying to say. So I don't romanticize. What I'm trying to say is, I never romanticize sin or romanticize and give somebody a blight because they're of my kinsman, of my tribe, of my family tree, of my genealogy. Not into any of them things there, I just put anybody on blast. It is what it is. And I hope people put me on blast too when it comes to that as well, equally. But let's check the blessing that was bestowed upon Jacob. It said, Therefore, Yah give thee of the dew of heaven, the fatness of the earth, and plenty of corn and wine. So the blessing was that it was going to have substance, It was going to have substance, fatness of the earth, plenty of corn and wine. Not only that, let people serve thee, and nations bow down to thee. Be Lord over thy brethren, and let thy mother's sons bow down to thee. Okay, cool. What does it say now? Cursed be everyone that curseth thee, and blessed be he that blesseth thee. The amount of times growing up, you used to hear this for the Ashkenazis. They'll say, yo, growing up, in the Matrix, they'll say, we need to bless them, pray for them, worship them more or less, because they are the anointed, the called upon, the Holy One. And that's just all been part of the deception. Revelation 3 verse 9. Behold, I will make them of the synagogue of Satan, which say they are Yehudi and are not, but do lie. Behold, I will make them to come and worship before thy feet, and to know that I have loved thee. What does Romans say? When we talk about, people say Gentiles can't be grafted in, or it's the Gentiles who were Israelite in the mind and they lost the plot and they just became Gentile in their demeanor. They can be grafted in, not Gentiles outside of Israel. And there's all these conflicting views and arguments and statements that get thrown around. But aside from that, putting that on the back burner for now, what does it say about Israel as a whole, the natural branch? What does it say? It says, if some of the branches were broken off, and thou being a wild olive tree, were grafted in among them, and with them partakers of the root, and the fatness of the olive tree. What does it say? Boast not against the branches, But if thou boast, thou bearest not the root, but thou bearest not the root, but the root thee. So he's saying, boy, don't speak out against the Most High's people. Don't put down the Most High's people. Don't call the Most High's people monkeys. Don't put all of the Most High's people into the black box. Hey, don't even put Ham into the black box. There's no such thing as black. Yeshua was not black. He was of a nation. He was a Yehudi from the tribe of what? Judah. We're using colonial language to understand the Bible, and that's why a lot of us go amiss. We use red and yellow, black and white, or colonial language created by Johann Blumenbach, who was the father of modern anthropology, who is what? A German, probably from the powers that be. You with me? So, you know, it is what it is. But Jacob had a particular blessing, and the blessing was you're going to have the dew of heaven, the earth, plenty of corn and wine, plenty of substance, and that nations would reverence you. And if the nations didn't reverence your nation, then they're going to be cursed. But everyone who reverenced your nation, they're going to be blessed. We see this kind of repeated in Revelation, and we also see this repeated in Romans, where it says, don't big up your chest against them in that respect. You with me? Because there's a thing called replacement theology too, which many people use to usurp the nation of Israel and claim the prerogatives and say, we are spiritual Israel. We are there's no such thing as spiritual Israel. You're either engrafted in or you're engrafted out. There's no setting up your own tabernacle, setting up your own nation. And I know it's going to be difficult for people to accept because of the theology and the semantics and, you know, certain institutions that you may come from. Well, let's move on. I just wanted to highlight that was Jacob. He had a particular blessing, and it was a national blessing. It wasn't a one-time, one-off blessing. It was a blessing to the nation. For example, when people talk about Ishmael, they say he's going to be a wild man against every nation, and every nation's hand will be against him. And that prophecy is in Genesis, but yet people still use that prophecy to describe the people of Ishmael today. They use that old prophecy, 4,000, 6,000 years ago old, and they still make it applicable to that nation today. And likewise, it's the same thing with this the prophecy of Yakubi. The prophecy is still applicable to his people today. The Most High doesn't change not. And we see 3 precepts that talks about the nation of Yasharal in a certain way. Okay. So what happened to Esau's blessing? What did he say about Jacob's name? What was to happen to Esau's posterity? What did Esau ask for? What did Esau receive? What was to be a trait of Esau? Again, the same way we use one verse in Genesis to explain who Ishmael is and the sons of Midian, because we know they're one and the same. If you follow this particular studies that we've been doing, there's also other prophecies about Ishmael that pinpoint the people today. It says there will be merchants, and we see a lot of the sons who fit that particular nation are very, you know, the big up there when it comes to this merchant game. So let's see the prophecies or the characteristics and the traits of Esau, which we should still be able to see in real time today, because nations don't change, only names do. You with me? So names might change. For example, we looked at Frankum and how they buy França, but now we know that Frankum and França is just another word for saying France. And we know that Franca and França came from the son of Gomer, who was the son of Japheth. So we've got that boxed. And then we looked at how Japheth, or the son of Gomer, became intermixed and interwoven into the Roman papacy, or the Roman nation. So we're just linking and we're connecting dots together, and we're seeing things with a more of a biblical point of view rather than colonial point of view, Christianity point of view, just a thus saith the Lord, line upon line, precept point of view. So okay, let's answer these questions now. And he said, thy brother came. Now this is Isaac talking to Esau. Don't be thrown off. Esau and Edom is the same person. Yeah, sometimes it's known as Edom, sometimes it's known as Esau. It's still talking about the same person. Like Jacob, sometimes is known as Jacob, sometimes is known as Israel. Yeah. And he said, thy brother came with subtlety and have taken away thy blessing. And he said, is not he rightly named Jacob? For he have supplanted me these 2 times. He took away my birthright, and behold, now he taketh away my blessing. And he said, thou hast not reserved a blessing for me. So it wasn't just the one occasion over the lentils that Esau was, tricked by his brother. It was twice. And the first thing that he gave over, or the first birthright that he sold, was a birthright to be buried in the house of his fathers. We looked at that briefly. The second was the blessing. Yeah, because, he had a blessing saved up for Esau, but then, his mom and him did the whole thing and stole the blessing too. Even though it's going to come their way, but nevertheless, these things happen. And Isaac answered and said unto Esau, behold, I have made him thy lord, and all his brethren I have given to him. And all his brethren have I given to him for servants, and with corn and wine have I sustained them. And what shall I do now unto thee, my son? So he's given Jacob. Isaac has given Jacob. Jacob usurped the blessing on this occasion. He's gave him all these materials and servants, or substance is a better word. Gave him all these little things. And he's saying, I've emptied out. This is like I don't know, a son asking for money off his dad or something, and one of the sons robs him or something, or does a bit of deceit or whatever, and then he's gone to the son. The son's gone, Dad, can I have some money in my bank account? And then he's gone, I've gave all the money away to him. What am I supposed to give you? I can't give you no money. The money's gone. You get me? The money's gone. Wounded. But then Genesis 27:38, and Esau said unto his father, hast thou but one blessing, my father? Bless me, even me also, O my father. And Esau lifted up his voice and wept. And Isaac his father answered and said unto him, behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth, and of the dew of heaven from above. And by the sword shalt thou live, and shalt serve thy brother. And it shall come to pass, when thou shalt have the dominion, that thou shalt break his yoke from off thy neck. Yeah? So that's the prophecy of Jacob. Prophecy of Esau, should I say. So it says, and by the sword thou shalt live. So this guy was only going to get by conquering, by being a parasite, by just invading, taking over, mashing up the place. That's the only way he was going to have a base. I mean, again, if we can use one prophecy of Ishmael to represent the whole perceived nation who we think are Ishmael today, then by rights we can do the same thing with this one, and there's many others that we're going to look at, to know who this characteristic could pertain to. It's only right. So the prophecy of Esau, he's going to live by the sword. By the sword thou shalt live, and shalt serve thy brothers. And it shall come to pass, when thou have the dominion, that thou shalt break his yoke from off thy neck. Yeah? So there we see Esau. So what happened to Esau's blessing was taken by Jacob. How many times did this take place? Twice. Twice with the food, again with, making himself all hairy. What happened to Esau's posterity? They were going to serve, not, what do you say? Going to be servants. Yeah? Does it say in a draconian way? or a devilish way. Yeah, there's a saying that says, "Envy not the ways of your oppressor." Some of us have such an oppressed state that we want to do the same. We want to copy the oppressor to the T, and then say we're not like the oppressor. And it says, "What did Esau ask for? He lifted up his voice and wept and asked for a blessing." What did Esau receive? He received the fatness of the earth and the dew of the heaven from above. And what was to be a trait of Esau? What was supposed to be a characteristic? The characteristic was the nation of Esau was going to live by the sword. Everything they did was going to be bloody. Interesting. More traits of Esau. Esau, or Edom, is often referred to as an eagle. So it's often referred to as an eagle. Obadiah 1 verse 4. Though thou exalt thyself as the eagle, and thou set thy nest among the stars, hence will I bring thee down, saith the Lord. So, NASA, whatever you make of them, think of them, deception, whatever. The eagle has landed. The eagle has touched down, setting their nest amongst the stars. You can take that literally, figuratively, metaphorically, but it is what it is. Ecclesiastes 3:15. Look, an eagle will soar and swoop down, spreading its wings over Bozrah. In that day, the hearts of Edom's warriors will be like a heart of a woman in labor. Again, look at eagle in reference to Edom. Jeremiah 49 verse 10 to 16. But I have made Esau bare, I have uncovered his secret places, and he shall not be able to hide himself. The terror you inspire and the pride of your heart, who have deceived you? You who live in the clefts of the rock, who occupy the heights of the hill. Though you build your nest as high as the eagles, from there I will bring you down. Another prophecy of Esau, or a characteristic of Esau. Because thou hast had perpetual hatred. Perpetual means it's like petrol. Put fire on petrol, it will burn up until the petrol fuel still, when the petrol runs out, that's when it will run out. So perpetual means it's just ongoing hatred, And has shed the blood of the children of Israel by the force of the sword in the time of their calamity, in the time that their iniquity had an end. So even when there was back on track with the Most High, and they, was living according to the Torah, you were still giving them a hard time and still dealing with them in an oppressive way. Because sometimes the nation of Yasharal, oftentimes it was due to rebellion, being stiff-necked, but sometimes they were persecuted just because they were prosperous. Abraham, or should I say Isaac, had a bit of tension with the Philistines over the well. Who else had a bit of contention? My mind's gone blank, But, oh yeah, was it? But yeah, if you read through, you'll see episode after episode. Egypt, they were prospering in the land. Before then, everything was great in Egypt. There was no issue. We looked at last study who was the main agitator, and it wasn't even the children of Mizraim necessarily, but it was the Canaanite Pharaoh who had killed the Egyptian Pharaoh and set the Egyptians against the children of Yasharal. So we looked at that 2 weeks ago in detail, and we just highlighted who was the main agitator behind the scenes. Okay then, so what did Esau vow to do at his father's death? And where did Esau say this? And how did his mom hear this? So what did Esau do? What did Esau vow to do at his father's death? Esau said this way. How did his mother hear? Genesis 27 verse 41. And Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing wherewith his father blessed him. And Esau said in his heart, the days of the mourning for my father are at hand. Then will I slay my brother Jacob. And the funny thing is, when you look at the timeline from this particular story to then Jacob going into the land of Haran and then this, that and the other, 20 years had gone by, So Isaac was, when he did all these blessings, there was 20 more years left in the clock. Interesting, The guy's calling them together on some deathbed blessing, but there was 20 more years left in the clock when it came to Isaac. He didn't just bless them and give up the ghost. There was some time period left before he gave up the ghost. So, okay. So he vowed that his father's death is going to deal with his little brother and kill him, murder him. Yeah? But where did Esau say this? Did he say this out loud? Did he shout? Did he mumble? 41 said he says it in his heart. Now, how did his mother hear what is being said in somebody's heart? And the words of Esau, her elder son, were told to Rebekah in a dream. Jubilees 27 verse 1. And Rebekah sent and called Jacob her younger son, and said unto him, Behold, Esau thy brother will take vengeance on thee, so as to kill thee. Now therefore, my son, obey my voice, and arise and flee, thou to Laban, my brother, to Haran, and tarry with him a few days, until thy brother's anger turns away, and he remove his anger from thee, and forget all that thou hast done. Then I will send and fetch thee from hence. So she only sent him away for a few days, initially. The plan was, just go away, let your brother burn off some steam. Yeah, we've kind of did him a bit bad to a degree. But yeah, just, it's a little family dispute. Your brother will be your friend again. Just, call off, go to, chill, and then come back, and hopefully your brother forgives you and this, that, and the other. And Jacob said, I am not afraid. If he wishes to kill me, I will kill him. But she said unto him, let me not birth it both. Let me not birth, where is it? Birth it? Can't pronounce it, But let me not birth it of both my sons on one day. So she's like, boy, I know you want to scrap, and you're quite capable, and he's quite capable of killing you, and you're quite capable of killing him. But she's saying, as a mum, I don't want to lose both my sons in one day. And Jacob said to Rebekah his mother, Behold, thou knowest that my father has become old, and does not see because his eyes are dull. And if I leave him, it will be evil in his eyes, because I leave him and go away from you. And my father will be angry and will curse me. I will not go. When he sends me, then only will I go. So he's in a predicament now. He's like, boy, my dad's elderly. If I get off, run off, hit the road, Jack, and don't come back no more, my pops is going to be like, boy, I blessed that youth, gave that youth my produce, gave him his inheritance, and he's done a runner. He's gone to Selfridges, he's gone to Marks and Spencer's, he's gone to, I don't know, the Hilton, and he's not coming back. Yeah? So he was like, okay, I can't go until dad says, yeah, you can go. And it has to be legit. So let's find out how Rebekah manages to convince Isaac, this elderly man who still has 20 years on the clock, but thinks he's dying. Let's see how she manages to convince this man to let Jacob go, to let his son go, his youngest son go. So how did Rebekah convince Isaac to give Jacob leave? Jubilees 27, 7-8. And Rebekah said to Jacob, I will go in and speak to him, and he will send thee away. This woman's like, this woman is just like pioneering everything, She's like the mastermind. She's like Sarah, Sarah's like, I'm old again, menopause, go with Hagar. Like a lot of our Israelite women, a lot of our boy, sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, but they seem to be in the seat running the show. But I got love for the all my Akatis, But I'm just making it, painting the picture, the scene, the scenario. And Rebecca went in and said to Isaac, I loathe my life. Wow. Because of the two daughters of Heth, whom Esau has taken him as wives. And if Jacob or Jacobi take a wife from among the daughters of the land, such as these, for what purpose do I further live? For the daughters of Canaan are evil. So she's just put this out to him. What's Isaac's response? And Isaac called Jacobi, and blessed him, and admonished him, and said unto him, Do not take thee a wife of any of the daughters of Canaan. Arise and go to Mesopotamia, the house of Bethuel, the mother's father, and take thee a wife from hence of the daughters of Laban, thy mother's brother. And God Almighty bless thee and increase thee and multiply thee, that thou mayest become a company of nations, and give thee the blessing of my father Abraham to thee, and to thy seed after thee, that thou mayest inherit the land of thy sojournings, and all the land which God gave to Abraham. Go, my son, in peace. And Isaac sent Jacob away, and he went to Mesopotamia, to Laban, the son of Bethuel, the Syrian, the brother of Rebekah, Jacob's mother. So he's gone to his uncle's house, he's kicking off, and Rebekah's just pitched the perfect pitch. She said, look, man, if Jacob stays here, she hasn't mentioned the beef, she hasn't mentioned the animosity, she hasn't said, boy, Esau's looking to kill him, any opportunity he gets. So she safeguarded the whole show. And she said, look, if Jacob gets one of these women, count me out. I can't have both my sons with these women. Count me out. I'm falling in my cards. So the only best thing to do is that he needs to go to our people of our tribe and find a daughter from our nation. So that was the proposal, and that was the suggestion. Now, we're going to find out more about these daughters of Heth, I believe, on the next slide. Because was it just because of the tribe thing, or was there more to it? Was it just the tribe thing, or was there more to it? Yeah, was there more to it at this point? Or was it just, they're Canaanite? Like, what was the main thing? Now, we've been looking at studies where we saw that Canaan usurped Shem's territory, and that the land of Canaan always belonged to the sons of Shem, and it could have went to any son of Shem at this particular point, but Abraham was called, chosen, and stayed faithful, and the Most High blessed him and promised his seed and prosperity, yeah, and made a nation out of him, yeah, and said to him to occupy the land of Canaan. We looked at this in previous studies, just a brief recap. So anyway, how did Rebekah feel upon hearing the words of Esau? Now we're going to hear the same story in the Genesis account. And where did Jacob go? And Isaac was a virgin for how long? And how did she feel about the daughters or the women in the land of Canaan? So let's see the same story now in the Genesis account. And these words of Esau, her elder son, were told to Rebekah. Now we know that Esau said these words in his heart. Jubilees just told us that she was told by a dream. Here it's saying, and these words of Esau, her elder son, were told to Rebekah. Now we know how it was told to Rebekah, by the vehicle of a dream. And she sent and called Jacob her younger son, and said unto him, Behold, thy brother Esau, as touching thee, doth comfort himself, proposing to kill thee. Now therefore, my son, obey my voice, and arise, flee thou to Laban, my brother, to Haran, and tarry with him a few days, until thy brother's fury turn away. Again, see, Jubilees and Genesis saying the same thing. He wasn't supposed to go there for like a whole 7 years and another 7 years. He was just supposed to go there for a few days, let the smoke die down, let your brother's anger just dissipate, chill, whatever. It wasn't supposed to be a long spring break. Until thy brother's anger turn away from thee, and he forget which thou hast done to him, then I will send and fetch thee from hence. Why should I be deprived also of you both in one day? Now you're gonna realize why she says, why am I going to be deprived of you both in one day? I thought it was only sending away Isaac. So how is she going to be deprived of both her sons in one day? That doesn't make sense. But you're going to find out how that statement makes sense. And Rebekah said to Isaac, I am weary of my life. This is the Genesis account now. And Rebekah said to Isaac, I am weary of my life. That's a big statement to make. Because the daughters of Heth, these Canaanites, if Jacob take a wife of the daughters of Heth, such as these, so she's singling out these, she's saying the daughters of Heth, but especially like these, which are of the daughters of the land, what good shall my life do me? Interesting. Now, Isaac was a virgin for how long? We just read in verse 46 how she felt about the daughters of the land of Canaan. And Jacob was to go to Laban, or to Haran, should I say? How long was Isaac a virgin for? And then spake Jacob to Rebekah his mother, and said unto her. Now listen to this, this is definitely self-control. Now this is why Abraham probably saw through the smoke of the characters between the two. Potentially, I'm just throwing it out there. Probably I'm sensationalizing, who knows? I'm just using my imagination. So it says, and then spake Jacob to Rebekah his mother, and said unto her, Behold, mother, I am 9 weeks of years old, and I neither know, nor have I touched any woman. Blows, okay. Nor have I betrothed myself to any, nor even think of taking me a wife of the daughters of Canaan. Yo, let's wait there. Let's on that note, let me just do some quick maths. God, I forgot what the whole thing was. What is it? 9. Oh, blimey neck. 63 then, yeah, 63. So it's 63, Could you imagine? It's like these guys during this time period, Why? I don't know what was going on. Like 63, Could you imagine this jump? Like, could you imagine coming across a senior citizen and he's like, yo, he just, you know what I'm saying? Like, he has, you get what I'm trying to say? Like 63, and he's like, no, like, yeah, that's normal right now. 63, normal. Could you imagine that? That's some serious self-discipline, And I get the impression that he would have if the clientele were of a different persuasion or his parents approved. Because we know Esau was just like, yo, I need to just do me. And he got anything he wanted and satisfied himself. And you're gonna see later on that Esau had a change of heart towards the end and this, that, and the other. But man like Jacob was very, if you was to put him in today's kind of frame of reference, if he was one of your friends today, many of us would laugh at Jacob, Many people now would be laughing. Like Jacob just comes into the room, and you're talking about, husband and wife stuff, or not even talk about that, but you're just having that adult conversation. I don't know, but you know what I'm saying. I don't know. You're talking about placenta, when the baby came and you saw the placenta and, you almost fell over and you almost, did a hurricane kick. And then Jacob just comes in and is like, what's the placenta? All right, now he probably would know what a placenta is because, he was keeping sheep and, he was looking after the livestock. So He would have been equated with birth and that. But and he probably would have. Okay, let's not go there. But you get what I'm trying to say. Like he's 60 and he hasn't done that, which shows how dedicated. Character. It's character, man. Many of us would laugh at that if we came across that now. If our uncle said that now. Let's just say that you had an uncle. Let's just make it real. You had an uncle, and he's like, boy, I haven't found Miss Right. Or Miss Right. I haven't found a woman who's keeping the Torah. Yeah, to the degree. Or I haven't found a woman that my parents approve of. So because I haven't found a woman that my parents approve of, and I don't want to upset them by doing this, that, the other. Yeah? Boy, that's gusto, That's gusto. I would have put I had to repent 3 times because, but that's me. But man like Jacob had that self-control to say no so, no goso, and he just went against the flesh and overcame. And these are the characteristics and attributes that people, people must have saw in, his daily life, daily affairs. You with me? Which is mind-boggling in today's society because it's like, it's promoted that you need to lose your virginity at 10, 12. The earlier you lose it, the better you are. In fact, there's a weird story where there's a woman who gave birth at 10 years old in India. You with me? So it's like the whole mindset. And you're forgetting as well, These people lived a long, they didn't live that long at this point. But nevertheless, boy, that's self-control, man. That's self-control. You got man like Donald Trump and them guys still going at it. 3 different wives, 3 different children, this, that, the other. Man like Jacob just holding it down. You get me? Crazy. But glory to the Most High Yah. It's encouraging to those who might be going through certain hurdles and have chosen to abstain until they find Mrs. Right, you see me? Oh, 9 weeks, 63 years. Because in the Book of Jubilees, a week is 7 years. So in the Book of Jubilees, a week is 7 years. To answer that question, I just looked at the chat feed. I don't really look at it, But yeah, in the Jubilees account, 7 weeks is just the way of saying 7 years. So when you see, it's that kind of thing. But think about this as well. They weren't living in a society where sex was being advertised and marketed as something that, they weren't living in that environment where you could just, it's a summer day and Gala got batty riders on and, chicken breast on show. You with me? Or men are not wearing, what I'm trying to say? They're living in a different kind of setup. You with me? There weren't a lot of distractions. There were more nature. There were more outside people, more using their hands, had something to do. They were busy. They weren't idle. They had things to do. They could, what I'm saying? Like, that's the blessing. Like, it's amazing. And when I read that, I was just like, wow, Jacob, you were a soldier for the team, Maybe if he was my friend, I would laugh at you. I'll be honest. I'll probably take two digs and, probably just drop two jokes and say, boy, this, that, and the other. But deep down, I'm thinking, you are a serious guy. And that's the same with us. I'm assuming that if we heard someone say, yo, bro, like, for example, when you hear a brother say, yo, I've abstained for 10 years, yeah, because I this, that, the other, we might joke because we laugh at things we don't understand, but deep down we're thinking, wow, that's very dignified, that's very self-constrained and self-controlled. You with me? Nowadays, people just call you an idiot, but it takes control to do that, Even Paul says, yo, if you're burning, marry today. That's what he says. Obviously, I'm not saying to marry anyone today, but he just gives that counsel that, marry is better than burning. You with me? So that's what he says. But all right, let's continue this thing. All right, so now we want to explore who the daughters of Heth are. Who are the daughters of Heth? We keep hearing about Heth. You know, Rebecca says, I'm grieved unto death because of the daughters of Heth. You know, she's being all poetical and all this kind of stuff about the daughters of Heth. So, what's wrong with the daughters of Heth? You know, they're black. You know, if we're going to use colonial language, everyone's all black. It's all cool. You know, it's a family affair. You know, it's calm. What's the issue? What's the big thing? And notice she's actually saying, I don't want no daughters of Heth, especially if they're like these. So these must have been doing something pretty bad for her to single out not just her tribe, but these. You with me? So let's see what these people were going on with and why she didn't want her son caught up with these. And she's even talking about Esau, the bad breed one. She don't even want the bad breed Esau caught up with these daughters because they act like these. And how many parents or moms or dads don't want their kids in certain relationships now because they're caught up with these? Yeah? Because I'm going to look at the inventory of what these were doing and why she didn't want her son around these. So let's look at the daughters of Heth. Alrighty. So, what made Esau vex? Now notice here we said that she said in verse 45, she said, why should I be deprived also of you both in one day? Now, there was no skirmish, there was no fight, there was no battle, there was no nothing. Yeah? She gave a pitch to Isaac, and Isaac said, yeah man, make Isaac go and find a woman from your tribe. You know, he's getting old. He's getting really old. Really old. Make him find a woman and a lady friend. You know, so that was the concession. But why is she saying, why should I leave you? Why should I lose both my sons in one day? They're only sending one son away. Now let's find out what happened to the other. And when Esau saw that Jacob had fled and escaped from him, and that Jacob had cunningly obtained a blessing, then Esau grieved exceedingly, and he was also vexed at his father and mother. And he also rose up and took his wife and went away from his father and mother to the land of Seir, and he dwelt there. And Esau saw there a woman from amongst the daughters of Heth, whose name was Bosmath, the daughter of Elon the Hittite. And he took her for a wife in addition to his first wife, and Esau called her name Ada, saying, the blessing had in that time passed from him. So he had 2 Hittite women on the go, and he just left his people them. And Esau dwelt in the land of Seir 6 months without doing what? How long did Esau stay away from home? Esau dwelt in the land of Seir 6 months. He had a full-blown argument with his parents. He just walked out, slammed the door, probably said some expletives, took his gal, found the next gal on the road, going crazy, going ham, not interested. And Esau dwelt in the land of Seir 6 months without seeing Padre or Madre. And afterward Esau took his wives, plural, and rose up and returned to the land of Canaan. And Esau placed his 2 wives in his father's house in Hebron. Notice how it says 2 wives, like it's making that distinction, like the guy left with 1, come back with 2, you know. You got a man like Jacob, 63. I'm assuming his brother's 63, yeah? Because they're twins. And the other 63-year-old's just holding it down with the chastity bout. And the other brother's just vexed, gone out, sent 2 texts, got an ex-wife on the goer. 2 wives, come back home after 6 months, settled. That's the story. And the wives of Esau vexed and provoked Isaac and Rebekah with their works. So the wives of Esau vexed and provoked Isaac and Rebekah with their works. So not just their tribe, their melanin, melatonin, all that kind of, the works, you know. For why? What's wrong with their works? Everyone should work. For they worked not in the ways of the Lord. Okay, so what did they do? But they served their fathers' gods. Interesting. What were their gods? Of wood and stone, as their father had taught them. Okay. And they were more wicked than their father. Were they? And they went according to the evil desires of their hearts, and they sacrificed and burnt incense to Balaam. And Isaac and Rebekah became weary of them. Oh, okay. So it wasn't just necessarily the Canaanite thing, even though we know this, that, and the other, but it was a particular way they were. Okay, now that makes sense. So how many of us are in compromised relationships now because we couldn't hold it down, and now we're in a relationship with a woman whose whole outlook is different to where you want to be? So you want to eat kosher, she wants to eat vulture. You want to have a nice clean food on your fork. She wants to have some gammon and pork. You know, you want to separate from white Jesus, and she's holding on to him, saying Jesus. So it's like chalk and cheese. Like, how many people are in this compromised state now? Right now, listening to this, probably cringing, flinching, turned it down a few decibels until I finish saying this, and I'm going to turn it back up again, just to not upset anyone in the room. But, everyone's kind of in that predicament potentially. But not Jacob, because Jacob held it down for 63 years. All right, boom, bang, bing. Genesis 28, verse 8 and 9. And Esau, seeing that the daughters of... Now listen to this epiphany now. Listen to this mindset change that's highlighted in Genesis 28. And Esau, seeing that the daughters of Canaan pleased not Isaac his father. So this guy's like, why? My dad doesn't really want me to get with this particular woman, Yeah, her tribe's a bit dodgy. But also her tribe are on, her mum's the director of Gay Pride. Her dad is the director of Planned Parenthood. Her granddad has assets in Skank Africa Today Fund. Her cousin is a racist. Her mom, her grandma hates blacks. Fill in the blanks. So, Esau, seeing that the daughters of Canaan pleased not Isaac his father. What did he do? Then went Esau unto Ishmael, and took unto the wives which he had, Mahalah, the daughter of Ishmael, Abraham's son, the sister, Nebajoth, to be his wife, Salaki, if I've said the names incorrectly. I think it is Mahalah and Hajaba, but I can't pronounce it. Don't shoot me. I speak English, not Turkish. Let's go. Now, so let's just recap. How long did Esau stay away from home? 6 months. Bad spelling. Daughters of Heth were named Judith and Ada. And they were from where? Heth. And Heth was what? A Hittite. And Hittites were the son of who? Canaanites. And the Canaanites were the ones who usurped what? The land of Shem. Interesting. Okay. How did his wives make his parents feel? Were they good wives? Did they call to check on this, that, the other? Or did they, and it's a two-way thing too. Did they call on them? Did they call on it? Was it a two-way? Was it calm? Was it peaceable, affable? You're in somebody else's house, it says, and Esau vexed and this, that, the other. No, it says, verse 13, Esau placed, didn't even ask for permission. I'm just joking. But Esau placed, according to verse 13, 2 wives in his father's house in Hebron. So he just come back with his 2 lady friends, not paying rent, not paying the bills, or marginally paying the rent, marginally paying the bills, living a life of thrills. Mom and dad's just like, boy, my son's a polygamist, and he's doing his thing. And the wives weren't even nice. They weren't even, we married, let's just say, let's make it contemporary. He married 2 Buddhists, and they're coming to the house with this new age stuff, and chakra and Kabbalah and Talmud and all these different things. And the mama devout Yehudi, and they're saying, boy, we don't do Christmas. They're putting up Christmas trees. They're saying, oh, we don't do Easter. They're giving the kids Easter bunnies, and it's just a mess. And they're just like, boy, I can't wait for these 2 women who are not paying any bills in my fridge every day. The 2 of them, yeah, they need to go. And that was the predicament that they were in. But upon hearing his dad's dissatisfaction, How did Esau, how did he recoil? What did he do? Knowing that his pops weren't really happy with the setup in his house, that, you know, he didn't just have one of these bad breeds, but he had two of these bad breeds. Yeah? And Esau, seeing that the daughters of Canaan pleased not Isaac, his father, so he still was, you know, after his father's attention, his heart, whatever. You know, when he realized it didn't please his dad, he said, boy, I might as well get someone from my tribe, Ishmael. And I'm saying tribe because Ishmael is from the tribe of Shem. And he took a wife of this, that, and the other. Yeah, so he left the Canaanites from the tribe of Ham. And he got with an Ishmaelite woman from the tribe of Shem. So we did right towards the end. Now, this is what we don't know. There's loads of things that was happening. It kind of just looks like, you know, Jacob went to Haran, and next minute, Jacob's ladder, and then two twos, he's just in Haran, and he's kissing up Rebecca, and then he's saying to Rebecca, I'm your cousin, where's your dad? And this, that, and the other. But there's more to the story than just that. So let's fill in some of the blanks. And when Jacob went to go to Haran, Esau called unto his son Eliphaz, and secretly spoke unto him, saying, now listen, you know, all right, we'll read it, and then, does it say in here? Okay, I think it's on the next slide, but these guys now, they're licking ages, you know. These are these guys are 63 years old. I'm sure they're 63. Salaki if I'm wrong. In the next slide, it will tell you, I believe, how old they are. Yeah, but these men are 63, you know. Esau and Jacob, can you imagine two granddads having beef? Yeah, beef, you know. No vegan beef, just straight beef. And now they're getting all the siblings involved. They're getting cousins and nephews and nieces and saying, boy, this, that, and the other. Yeah? And when Jacob went to go to Haran, Esau called unto his son Eliphaz, and secretly spoke unto him, saying, now hasten, take thy sword in thy hand, and pursue Jacob, and pass before him in the road, and lurk for him, and slay him with thy sword in one of the mountains, and take all belonging to him, and come back. Now listen, we just read the blessings, and we just saw how Isaac said, I've gave all the money, all the Bitcoin, yeah, I've gave all the dollars, all the sterling, all the gold, yeah, all the franc and incense, and I've gave it all to your little brother. He's got all the P, he's got all the money, he's got all the dough. Saying that for a reason, you'll find out soon. And it says, slay him with the sword in one of the mountains. So just kill him off in one of the mountains. And when you kill him off here, take all that belongs to him and come back. This sounds like grown roadman beef, you know, but like pensioner beef, like some top yardy beef, you know. I don't know, bro. This just sounds like some top yardy beef. And Eliphaz, the son of Esau, was at, now, this is why I'm saying the 63. His brothers got off. He's had an advantage. These guys are quite getting old in age to a degree. Not saying they were all raggedy, because we know these guys had very good physiques and they were very healthy at old ages. But he says, and Eliphaz, the son of Esau, was an active man and an expert with the bow, as his father had taught him. And he was a noted hunter in the field and a valiant man. And Eliphaz did as his father commanded him. And Eliphaz was at that time 13 years old. Wow. Okay. And Eliphaz rose up and went and took 10 of his mother's brothers, coming the clan, you know, with him, and pursued Jacob. And he closely followed Jacob and lurked for him in the border of the land of Canaan, opposite to the city of Shechem, making it modern, making it contemporary. So some old man them have got beef. The elders on the block have got beef, yeah? And have drawn for the youngers, and they said, yo, on a lot, go and duppy brother so-and-so for doing so-and-so. And this young 13-year-old's got on his little bike, going and riding around London, looking for, you know, the opponent to deal with. Yeah? Crazy. That's why it's important to put certain things to bed sometimes, because elderly going at it 63, and now you're bringing other people into the beef. But that's kind of how it goes, really. You know, is what it is. Should I reveal who he is? Okay. Okay. Interestingly, actually no, I'll come back and I'll let you know who Eliphaz is the progenitor of, like who came through Eliphaz. So how did Jacob respond to his little 13-year-old nephew riding up to him on a bicycle, trying to do him some harm? Yeah, because his dad told him to. So how did he respond to his little 13-year-old nephew? And Jacob saw Eliphaz and his men pursuing him, and Jacob stood still in the place in which he was going, in order to know what this was, for he did not know the thing. And Eliphaz drew his sword and went on advancing, he and his men, towards Jacob. And Jacob said unto them, What is to do with you that you come hither? And what meaneth it that you pursue with your swords? And Eliphaz came near to Jacob, and he answered and said unto him, Thus did my father command me, and now therefore I will not deviate from the orders which my father gave me. And when Jacob saw Esau had spoken to Eliphaz to employ force, Jacob then approached and supplicated Eliphaz and his men, saying to him, Behold, all that I have, and which my father and mother gave unto me, that take unto thee, and go from me, and do not slay me, and may this thing be accounted unto thee a righteousness. And the Lord caused Jacob to find favor in the sight of Eliphaz, the son of Esau, and his men, and they hearkened to the voice of Jacob, and they did not put him to death. And Eliphaz and his men took all belonging to Jacob, together with the silver and the gold and the Bitcoin and the dollar bills and the sterling that he had brought with him from Beersheba, and they left him with nothing. Interesting. Okay. The good thing about that story is at least he didn't kill off his uncle, because to be fair, he's on the orders, isn't it? Like if your pop said, "Yo, kill off Uncle so and so because he didn't pay partner," or he took the partner from you're supposed to throw down a hand in partner, and he just took all the partner. You know what I'm saying? Took all my partner. I've been saving partner for like 10 years so that I can buy my little whatever, my little Punto, a Fiesta, my whatever, and he just robbed the partner. Yeah, and dad's not even getting my partner money back, and dad's allowing him to take the partner money. So, little man, go get the partner from uncle and deal with him. Yeah, and that's pretty much what's going down. All right, then. So, yeah, he forgave him. Well, didn't forgive him, but he didn't kill him. All right, now I'll go back to this point. Interestingly, Eliphaz was the father of the Amalekites. And the Amalekites, we did a study on this when I did a study on Esau and Edom, and I showed you how Catholicism and Judaism and all these isms and schisms all report to Catholicism or Judaism, and they all report to the lodge, and they're all just interconnected. Basically, if you go to, I don't know, let's just say you go to an Adventist church, they will mainly get you to focus your attention on the papacy and Jesuitism. So they have you focusing on Mystery Babylon. Yeah, we know it's not literal Babylon because Babylon was destroyed, but Mystery Babylon. Yeah, so they have you looking at that, because the Catholic Church has all the vestiges of ancient Babylon. Yeah, they follow the same esoterical nonsense of that time, but bastardized, remixed, and rebranded. Okay, but they never get you to look at the Jews, because the Adventist Church is run and funded by Jews. So theologically and all these things, they're not going to get you to look and to call them out. Also, interestingly, very quick, diverting, there was a podcast, an Adventist podcast, when they were looking at the true, or not, it weren't even deep, it was very shallow, but they were trying to look at how Yeshua HaMashiach was black, even though I hate that word, but you know, he was a Negro. The thing was up for probably a 2 weeks on a Birmingham radio station, an online Birmingham radio station. It was up for probably like 2 weeks, and the powers that be, or just the boule people, them, the gatekeepers, whatever, they took it down because they said the topic was inflammatory. Now, this was the whole thing was very, very basic, you know, wasn't deep whatsoever. They were just talking about the whole, you know, how African people, especially, they love seeing Jesus as white, this, that, and the other, and all this kind of stuff. And it was just taken down as inflammatory, and it is what it is. So, if you're in a certain theological denomination or religious institute, for example, you're a Catholic, you're trained to have a disdain for Protestants. If you're a Protestant, you're trained to have a disdain for Catholics. But all that is, when you take the blinkers off, it's just controlled opposition. And all it is conservatives versus liberals, liberals versus conservatives. That's literally all it is, because it doesn't teach you anything outside of bread and fish and basics. And some teach more than others. So some institutions, like Sunday, for example, you can say it's just like, I don't know, SATs. You're just going to learn SAT stuff like when you're in school. Adventism, you might learn GCSE stuff. But nevertheless, there's many gatekeepers that don't want certain things to come out because it will mess them up monetarily, institutionally, and they'd have to revisit all their textbooks, all their theology, everything that they highly revere and worship, they'd have to revisit. And hence, they don't want anyone to look on, expound on, or bring into a discussion. So they censor everything. And when I started to see them things, I said, nah, man, this can't run. And I started to just step away by Yah's grace. Said, nah, come out of these things and let's go back to basics. So, saying all of that to say this, we see here, well, we did the study on Edom and Esau and how they're one and the same, and Catholicism and Judaism and all these isms and schisms are interconnected and interwoven, whatever you want to call it. So when we go to this particular story now, Eliphaz was the father of the Amalekites. The Amalekites, if you don't know the story, were the people who Saul said to take them, not Saul, Samuel said to take them out, but Saul, the king of Israel, said no, and he went against it, this, that, the other. You can find the story in 1 Samuel chapter 15. And when you start to realize who people are nationally, you see the same beef. The same way these 63-year-olds are having beef. The beef is still going on, yeah, on a global scale. So it's not 63-year-olds, it's like thousands-year-old beef that's still going on to this day. People usurping identity. People trying to pitch themselves as something they're not. Frame themselves as something they're not. Have all the money, have all the wealth, and project themselves as something they're not. So it's a funny time to be living in. And a lot of these lies and deceits, by Yah's grace, are falling to pieces. So let's continue. We saw how Jacob responded. He supplicated to his nephew, and his nephew gave him a blight. Now, what was Esau's response to his son? Because he's told his son straight up and down, kill my brother because whatever. And Eliphaz and his men went away from him, Jacob, and they returned to Esau to Beersheba, and they told him all that had occurred to them with Jacob, and they came with him that had taken from Jacob. And they gave him, all that they had taken from Jacob. Yeah, so they've gone back to their pops, said, yo, here's all the possessions and here's all the blessing that you missed out on. Here you go. You've got it back. It's yours now. And Esau was indignant, and Esau was vexed, should I say, indignant at Eliphaz, his son, and at his men. So he was vexed at his son, and he was vexed at his men, that were with him, because they had not put Jacob to death. And they answered and said unto Esau, because Jacob supplicated us in this matter not to slay him, our pity was excited toward him, and we took all belonging to him and brought it unto thee. And Esau took all the silver and gold and bitcoin which Eliphaz had taken from Jacob, and he put them in his house. And that time when Esau saw that Isaac had blessed Jacob, and had commanded him, saying, Thou shalt not take a wife from amongst the daughters of Canaan, and that the daughters of Canaan were bad in the sight of Isaac and Rebekah. Then, so when he had that report, heard the report of how Jacob was blessed and how his mum and dad didn't really like his wives and this, that, the other, probably heard it through the grapevine, who knows. Then he went to the house of Ishmael, and in addition, so he didn't put away his wives, didn't put away these strange wives, and not even strange wives, but these idolatrous strange wives. Yeah. He says, and in addition to his older wives, he took Rachael, the daughter of Ishmael, the sister of Nebaioth, for a wife. Again, you know, when you hear certain stories, like, I know people say that Ruth was literally a Israelite. That's what people say. I'm of the opinion that she was a Moabite. But even if you want to call Ruth a Moabite, or if you want to call her an Israelite, the fact still remains that Ruth was from the seed of Shem. Her people were Shem, because Ruth was a Moabite. Or, if you want to make the argument she was an Israelite, yeah? But I'm saying she was a Moabite. But whatever the case is, she was still a daughter of Lot. Lot was a son of Terah, and Terah goes all the way back to Shem. So Ruth was a Moabite, and she was also a Shemite. So at this point in time, it was kind of okay for Shemites to mingle at this point of time. We know as it goes a bit further through, even that became a bit distasteful. Again, Moses, he married a Midianite woman. I think it was Zipporah, top of my head. But again, she was a Midianite. She came from here. She came from the stock of Keturah, which was Abraham's third wife. So even her genealogy goes back to Shem. She was a Shemite. There's a lot of confusion because people just seem to think that only Israelites come from Shem. Shem had these other sons, these 5 sons, and every son that you see represents a nation of people. Yeah? So the Edomites are a nation, Ishmaelites are a nation, Israelites are a nation, Moabites are a nation, Ammonites are a nation, but equally, they all are the sons of Shem. Just to bring that point home, because there's a lot of confusion and a lot of meaningless arguments over silly things. So hopefully that's put some of those silly arguments to bed. Now, almost finished. I think I've got like 2-3 slides, if that. So more traits of Esau. Now notice here, he married an Ishmaelite. So Esau married this Ishmaelite woman from his uncle's stock, who is still a Shemite. Where previously he married these 2 Canaanite women, the daughters of Canaan, and they were from the tribe of Ham. But we know that Cush, Mizraim, Israel had a good relationship with these people in their infancy, and then it got a bit sticky. But when it came to Canaan, there was always just beef, because Canaan robbed the land which belonged to the sons of Shem. So they were always kind of on edge, even though at times even their relationship was a bit decent, but there was always a bit of tension between the two. So let's have a look now, and hence why the Most High gave the decree in Genesis to go out and to obliterate the sons of Canaan, the Hivites, the Perizzites, the Hittites, and all the other ites that came from Canaan, which we looked at in many other studies. So hopefully now the whole picture that the Bible's painting is making a lot more sense. Okie dokie. So let me get my arrow. Just wanted to highlight that he married a daughter of Ishmael. Again, this is an interesting verse. Then Judas fought against the children of Esau in Idumea at Arabatine. So we know there was a overthrow, because another argument is Esau is the Arab, or Esau is the this, or Esau is the that. He cast his net wide. He was a conqueror. His whole posterity was, I don't want to use the word hybrid because that has a different connotation, but they were like Mongols. They were bastards. Like, they bastardized nations. They used to mingle. They used to conquer and mingle, mingle and conquer. There was no national sovereignty like that. Like, there was no, you get what I'm trying to say? Like, they were the first people to put this agenda of mixing. He was the first mixer. He liked to mix. So we see there that it was definitely in Arabatine, Esau, in Idumea. This is Petra, an ancient city of Edom. When you look at the architecture and you just look at any Roman, Grecian, Roman, whatever, any architecture, you'll see this kind of design, and you can trace it back. The stones are crying out, they're showing. You just look and you see, and it resembles a particular type of people. The pride of thy heart have deceived thee, thou that dwellest in the cliffs of the rock, whose habitation is high, that saith in his heart, who shall bring me down to the ground? Okay, I want to throw something else in, actually. I don't think I threw it in. For those who might not be aware, not only was he mingled with Ishmael, but he was also mingled with Rome as well. Hence why you get these Turk-looking people, but that's another story to get into. I'll go off on a tangent. All right, so for those who might not know, like I said, Esau just mingled, And the children of Eliashar are the Alameen. They also went and built themselves cities. Those cities are situated between the mountains of Job and Shibbotham, and of them were the people of the Lombardy, who dwelt opposite the mountains of Job and Shibbotham, and they conquered the land of Italia and remained there unto this day. So the Lombardy are the Italia, and the children of Chittim are the Romi, who dwelt in the valley of Canopia by Tiberu. Okay, that's probably gone over some people's heads. Now, next one. So the highlighting here is that the Romans, when you see Chittim in the Bible, that's synonymous to the Romans, and the Romans dwelt by Canopia, by the river Tiberu. And when you look at the Caesars, you had Tiberius, Caesar, this, that, and the other. So we see how Edom mingled with the Romans, and he mingled with the Arabs too. He was mingling with everyone. Anyone who would open the doors up to him, he would mingle. During this particular mingling, something happened to him. He heard that Edom had revolted from under the hand of Chittim. So at one point, they were, under the hand of Chittim. And Latinus went to them and smote them and subdued them and placed them under the hand of the children of Chittim. And Edom became one with the children of Chittim all the days. So Edom and Chittim became one in the same people. When you see Chittim, you see Edom. When you see Edom, you see Chittim. Yeah, they became one in the same. Similar to, we did this ages ago too, how Ishmael and Midian became the Arabs. They intermarried and became one nation. Again, these intermarried and became one nation. Like we saw earlier, Japheth, Frankham, Gomer, they all just became, amalgamated into one nation over time. Obviously, there was kickback because we see the revolted. What do you say? I can't get that row. Yeah, obviously, we see there was kickback because they often revolted, but then they started to, become crystallized. Now, interestingly, David made an interesting prophecy in Psalms 137, verse 7. He said, "Remember Elohim, the children of Edom." Oftentimes, when people say they want you to remember, It's always remember the Sabbath, and they just use that one text for remember, which is great because people have forgot the Sabbath. But there's many times it says remember Lot's wife, so remember the conditions that were happening in Sodom. It says David's saying to the Most High, as if the Most High can forget. He's saying, remember Elohim, the children of Edom, in the day of Jerusalem, who said, raise it, even to the foundations thereof. Now we know that Edom and Rome are one and the same. And now we know that Edom and Rome, or Edom should I say, was also in bed with the Arabs too. But interestingly, I probably won't go on to it actually. It's too much. I'll leave it. Alright then, so we saw how Jacob got robbed by his own nephews. Yeah, just robbed him point blank. Almost finishing, I believe. Yeah, 3 more slides. And Jacob awoke from his sleep, and he rejoiced greatly at the vision which he had seen, and he named the place Bethel. So this dream is referring to when Jacob saw the ladder and the angelic host going down and up from the ladder, or up and down from the ladder. And Jacob arose from the place quiet and rejoiced, and he walked. His feet felt light to him for joy, and he went from there to the land of the children of the east, and he returned to Haran, and he set by the shepherd's well. And he there found some men going from Haran to feed their flocks, and Jacob made inquiries of them, and they said, we are from Haran. And he said unto them, do you know Laban, the son of Nahor? And they said, we know him, and behold, his daughter is coming along to feed her father's flock. Whilst he was yet speaking with them, Rachel, the daughter of Laban, came to feed her father's sheep, for she was a shepherdess. And when Jacob saw Rachel, the daughter of Laban, his mother's brother, he ran and kissed her, and lifted up his voice, and wept. Now, have you ever wondered, why was Jacob working so long to purchase his wife? I mean, he's had his inheritance. Now we just realize his inheritance was all stolen. The gold, the silver, the produce, the blessing that he usurped was then usurped from him. And now he's gone to this land broke, no dough. He has a dream of encouragement, of the angels coming down and reassuring him and confirming his mission, and the future of his seed will be plenteous and this, that and the other. Then he comes into his uncle's land and he's like, boy, I'm broke, skint, but I love this woman. She looks kind of 63 now, ready to settle down and make a nest. And Jacob told Rachel that he was the son of Rebekah, her father's sister. And Rachel ran and told her father. And Jacob continued to cry because he had nothing with him to bring to the house of Laban. Now, customarily in a Caribbean culture, if you go to someone's house, you're not supposed to go there empty-handed. Yeah? So if you come and check me, and you follow that custom, that Jamaican custom, you're supposed to bring something. Whether you just bring, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? A patty, a vegetable patty, or something. But that was the custom, innit? You had to bring something, just like, yo, what's up? Here's this. Have a box of chocolates, or something. So, but he just went there and he's like, yeah, you're right, uncle. I haven't seen you for the longest, and I'm coming from your sister's house. You know that they're rich and that. And I'm just coming and I can give you me. So it's more like a pride issue for Jacob. It's more like, yo, I'm going there and I just can't afford to bring anything because I don't have anything to give because I just got robbed on the road by my little nephew. So I'm coming empty-handed, and this is the reason. And now that explains why he worked 7 years, and then he worked another 7 years, and this, that, and the other. Well, it explains why he worked the first 7 years. Obviously, the other 7 years was the deceiver, the supplanter, should I say, was supplanted by Laban, his uncle. Okay, now stay tuned for this next revelation. The next revelation may knock your socks off. The next revelation may knock your socks off. I had to put some harmony in that, you know. Alright, boom. Bang, bing. So, I just wait, you know. I just wait. You need to invite 2 more people into the study. Yeah, I need to see. I'm just looking at the chat feed now. I don't really look at the chat feed, but invite somebody in for this particular revelation. If he's at church, to say hug somebody, greet somebody. But yeah, I'm ramping. Okay, let me just dilly-dally on this point for a particular 2 seconds. Try and invite someone though, because this next one, I was like, wow, I didn't know that, but wow, now it makes so much sense. I was like, wow, you get me? All right, boom. So, let's just recap. He goes to his uncle's house. Remember, he's received a blessing twice. He said to his brother after he just killed off Nimrod, but he didn't know the situation, but he just saw an opportunity. He said, yo, bad breed Esau, wagwan fam. He said, yo, wagwan G. He's like, yo, you're hungry? Or he said, yo, I'm hungry. He said, all right, then safe. Sell me your birthright, and then, 2 twos, we can, and this, that, and the other. Blood. Yeah, man, give me the jerk chicken right now, bro. Like, man's hungry. Is it Popeyes? Is it the Popeyes burger? Yo, give me the Popeyes right now, fam. I ain't queuing up all day. I'll just sell my birthright for that Popeyes chicken. How many times have people sold their birthright for food? Adam and Eve, deceived by the serpent and gave away their whole birthright, the whole, for food. Yeshua, the first temptation, I believe, was food. Turn these stones into bread. Again, food. Not the type of food you're eating, but just temperance and lack of temperance was the main illustration in that. Because it wasn't sin to eat fruit. It's not sin to eat bread. It's not sin to even eat lentils. So the lesson wasn't, oh, you're eating unclean and clean, even though you're supposed to eat clean. And it wasn't, you're eating vegan and not vegetarian. The lesson was self-control. And the lesson was also obedience. If I say to my kids, don't eat my carrot cake, yo, I love carrot cake, But if my kids, like little mice, start nibbling at my carrot cake, I go bananas, I'm like, yo, how are you just going to mess with my carrot cake, So I'm very defensive when it comes to carrot cake, isn't it? But saying all that to say this, look at the thing. He's gone to the house, broke pocket. He's been given all these riches from his mum and dad. And then suddenly he doesn't have riches anymore. Suddenly he has to work like a pauper. Suddenly he has to bend over backwards for 7 years. Even though, he's got nothing to show. Like, where's your dough, bro? Like, where's your... You know what I'm trying to say? I'm trying to make it, jokey. But he had nothing to show. So that's why he was a bit distraught, despondent. And he was like, why? Okay, I'll sell myself into your service. You with me? Because notice he was only supposed to go away for a few days. Those few days miraculously turned into 14, was it, or 20 years? So come on, man. Mommy sends you away and you come back in 20 years. Okay, so all right, so less procrastinating. I'm gonna stop procrastinating. You ready though? Are you ready? Steady to rumble. Everybody rumble. Okay, boom, dan ding. All right, boom. So this is the thing, yeah. Have you? All right. I've dropped the jokes after I read it. Let's read it by God's grace. Let's read it. So, let me do the drum roll on the keyboard. Boom. Did you know Leah and Rachel were twins? Did you know Leah and Rachel were some fiery Shemitic twins, But one had a kind of lazy eye, that just did its own thing. But in and of themselves, good looking, Shemitic twins. Did you know that? Now we're going to go through this little particular thing now, and you're going to be like, wow, okay, that makes a little bit more sense. That makes a little bit more sense. Now, I know people are like, boy, me never know that, you know. Me never know that. That can't be right. That can't be right. Me never heard that in Sunday school, in Sabbath class. Me never heard them things so. No, sir. Them thing can't go. Them thing can't go. All right, come. So anyway, boom, bang, bing. Check this though. Did you know Leah and Rachel were twins? So we need to rewind a little bit, fast forward a little bit, and then it should make a bit more sense in your brainium to your cranium. Did you know Leah and Rachel were twins? I'm assuming, like me, I never knew until most recently doing my little line upon line study, this, that, the other by yours, Grace. But check this though. For the wife of Laban was barren in those days, and bare no children, and also all his handmaids bare none to him. And the Lord afterward remembered Adinah, the wife of Laban, and she conceived and bare twin daughters. And Laban called the names of his daughters, the name of the elder, Leah, and the name of the younger, Rachel. Now, listen, all right, how did Lot get into a compromised situation? How did man like Lot get into a compromised situation with his own daughters? Because I often hear that story and I'm like, okay, if I had two daughters and they tried to pull it on me because they thought it was the end of the world, I would be able to see through whether I was drunk out of my bananas or not. You know, I'd be like, yo, that is my, what? You know what I'm saying? I'll be like, yo, I hope, yeah, you know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to be Peter and act too big like that. But I think if that went down and I was Lot, I'll be able to see through X-ray vision that was my daughter and ting no goso, you know. So that's me. So okay, let's give Lot a bly. He had some colonial Jamaican rum and he was high off the spirits and he was just gone away with the fairies and his daughters, you know, got him, you know, whatever. That happened. Okay, fine, that's cool, whatever. That's fine. Now listen, ladies, if you had a twin, okay, or let's just say, let's just make this make sense. So Jacob, yeah, Jacob, man like Jacob, you know, he accidentally slept with Leah and didn't know. How do you accidentally sleep with Leah and don't know? Like, how does that even, like, let's say you're a twin, yeah, and I'm your husband, and then, you know, I'm married to you, and then I go to your twin, I say, okay, let's say you're a twin, yeah, you're a twin. So if you're a lady, you're a twin, yeah, and let's just say I'm your husband, and then, you know, and then I said, oh babe, sorry, I slept with, I didn't mean to sleep with your sister. You know, but like if you were different, that argument wouldn't make no sense. You with me? So there must have looked similar. There must have been some sort of similarity or something for him to be so deceived that, you know, you're doing certain activities and you can't even differentiate between. It doesn't say he was drunk or nothing like this. So he weren't drunk. He was, you know, he was, or you know, doesn't he may have been drinking, but it doesn't say he was drunk. I'm putting that assumption there for some people who might say he was drunk, but it doesn't say he was drunk. With Lot, it says verbatim drunk. Noah drunk. But when it comes to what's his name, Jacob, he weren't drunk. So how is this 63-year-old virgin not being able to discern between the women? Now, was it due to his old age? Or was it due to these women look more or less the same, except one had a wobbly eye that, you know, you had to look at her and then one of the eyes was looking in the opposite direction. But aside from that, they were virtually synonymous, they were virtually the same. That's interesting. That's interesting. That's all I'm saying. But let's see the context now. Let's see a little bit more to the cake. Okay, 1 second. I got I just, the Most High just gave me a precept to go with this, Gave me a precept, so I'm gonna find it right now. All right, check this for a precept, yeah. Once this thing responds to my laptop, okay. No, it's not even working. Joke. Man. All right, give me 2 seconds just to make this preset come true. Oh dear. All right, sorry guys, Salaki. I'm just trying to pull it in. It's freezing. I've got too many things open. All right, yep, should be working now. All right, so we're gonna look at something. We're gonna do a quick case study, very quickly. Nothing too strenuous. Yada yada yada. So now it's gonna let me drop it in. Oh dear, yeah, just wait for the thing to drop. All right, while that's doing that, actually, let me just wait. It's coming through. Okay, so it's coming through. Yep. All right, so let's just minimize him for a minute. All right, so where were we? We were saying that, did you know that Leah and Rachel were twins? We know the story in Balamori that man like Jacob did a accidentally slept with his sister unawares. He didn't know. He wasn't drunk. He wasn't smoking any marijuana. He wasn't, there's no disturbance to him. He was just old, but he was still able to discern Wagwan, I'm assuming. So let's see how it all went down. Let's see how Laban presented his daughter, or how he presented his daughter to Jacob. How did he present her? What was tied in with the deception? Genesis 29 verse 23. And it came to pass in the morning, when the sun was high in the sky, that he took Leah his daughter and brought her to him, and he went in unto her. So, it was very bright outside. It was, so much sun. The whole room was illuminated. Everyone could see Wagwan. That was the setup. And then this poor guy, he just accidentally, he did what he shouldn't have done because he just didn't know any better. That's all that happened, really. Ladies, if your husband ever said that to you and you had a twin and he said, you know what, it's just these things happen, innit? She looks like you. What am I supposed to do, man? What am I supposed to do? All right, so let's make sense. Let's not be silly now. Let's read this now. Let's reload. Let's reload. Okay, so let's read the whole thing properly. Genesis 29:23. And it came to pass in the evening. Now we know evening biblically is when the sun does what? When the sun does set. So that's evening. And it came to pass in the evening that he took Leah, his daughter, and brought her to him. And he went in unto her. All right, that's a good excuse. It was dark, and my twin came at you, and she was kind of feeling you, and she wanted to deal with you, and it was dark, and she played the part. She's been with me since infancy. She knows how I talk, how I walk, how I flex. And okay, then you were deceived by my sister because my sister was thirsty, and she just wanted you, and you know, this, that, the other, and whatever. And she was the eldest, so technically you should have went with her first anyway, because that's the custom, and you broke the custom, to be fair. So to be honest, it was really okay for her to do what she did in the grand scheme of things, but nevertheless, boom. So that's what went down. Okay, Genesis 29:25. When did he realize, or when did he see that why Ting Nogoso and that he been duped? Did he see in the nighttime, or did he see at another time? When did this revelation dawn on him? You know what I'm saying? When did this come to pass? So he says, and it came to pass that in the morning, I'm assuming now the sun's in the sky, there's a bit more, you know, lights in the house, you know. Behold, it was Leah. Damn, the wobbly eye. And he said to Laban, what is this that thou hast done unto me? Did I not serve thee for Rachel? Wherefore hast thou beguiled me? Isn't that rich? The deceiver who deceives his brother is now upset because his uncle has deceived him. And to be fair, in our ancestry, this deceiving thing was very prevalent, you know. Abraham deceived the Pharaoh in Egypt, deceived the Philistine king. He deceived twice, you know, because he thought people might want to get with Sarah. Yeah. Then Isaac, he deceives again the king Abimelech of the Philistines. So Abraham deceives twice. Isaac deceives once. Jacob deceives 3 times, twice, I don't know. Yeah. Then his own uncle Laban deceives him. So our family, to be fair, let's not polish it, you know, let's call a spade a spade. Yo, some of us we're good liars, you know. You know, we got that swag, we just, boy, we can sell sand to a nomad and sell ice to an Eskimo. You with me? That's kind of the flex that we can see in the ancestry tree, you know. So let's call a spade, keep it 100. So that's that. Now the precept that the Most High put in my mind to show was another story, you know, of Nicodemus. And how did Nicodemus flex? You know, he had this big Sunday mega church, or he had this big Sabbath keeping church, and he was realizing that some of his Sabbath keeping doctrines were a bit crazy, and that some of the people that revered were a bit nuts and Masons, and he was realizing that some of these Sunday institutions were of Babylon, and he was just starting to, you know, pick his brains. But what did he do? How did he go about doing it? Was he an open book? Let's see what he did. There was a man of the Pharisees named Nicodemus, a ruler of the Jews. The same came to Yahushua or Yeshua by night and said unto him, Rabbi, stop. How did he approach the Hamashiach? Did he come in broad daylight to reason? Did he come in front of all his parishioners? Did he come in a church format where it was open dialogue? Or did he come on a one-to-one at night time where there's no disciples, where, you know, he couldn't get any shame for being in error? You know, how did he come? He come at night time where he could just reason. The same came to Yeshua by night, not by day, and said unto him, Rabbi, we know that thou art a teacher come from Yahuwah, for no one can do the miracles that thou doest except Yahuwah be with him. So we see how, again, that's just a precept of how he came at night time when no one would see him, where he could ask in secret. Again, what's his name? The uncle gave Leah at night time, so it can be kind of a secret. You with me? All right, almost done now. Literally 3 slides and we're done. Resume. So I was saying, what did Rachel steal? Why did she steal? Did Jacobi? No. Did Jacobi? No. So what did Rachel steal? Why is she stealing? Did Jacobi know? Now to fast forward a little bit, bad breed Uncle Laban, who's bullying his nephew, who's lying to his nephew, being deceitful to his nephew, who's supplanting his nephew, the same way his nephew supplanted his brother, the same way, you know, Isaac and Abraham, we have this thing of just lying and doing, you know, these good so-called white lies. So this is the situation now. He's fleeing because he's had enough of his in-laws. He's had enough of being in the house with them. He's had enough of meet the fuckers. He's had enough of being, meet the parents, Robert De Niro. He don't want them breathing down his neck. He's had enough of being shortchanged 10 times. And no, that wasn't a swear word. That's actually a film. So he's had enough. He's reached the end of his tether with his father-in-law. He just wants to have the daughters or his wife. And that's it. He's not interested in playing happy families to that extent. So anyway, boom. Genesis 31:30 now. And now thou wouldest needs be gone, because thou longest after thy father's house. Yet, wherefore hast thou stolen my gods? So we're saying to him, boy, you said to me that you wanted to get off because you're only supposed to be out a couple of days. These couple of days have turned into years. And you're telling me that you want to go because you want to go see your mum and your dad. That means Isaac's still alive, you know. That means Isaac, when he did that whole thing with the blessing, I'm dying kind of thing, he was alive, you know. A good 20 years have passed and Isaac's still there, still breathing. Interesting. Anyway, back to the story. And he says, and now thou wouldest needs be gone. So you're saying you want to go because thou so longest after thy father's house, because you miss your mum and your dad. Yet wherefore hast thou stolen my gods? You're saying, okay, that's interesting. And Jacob answered and said to Laban, because I was afraid, for I said, peradventure, thou wouldest take me by force, thy daughters from me. So he said, yo, I had to do this thing discreetly, sneakily, because if I told you I was just getting off with my wives, you would have tried to keep me there. You tried to bribe me there, give me incentives, intrinsic rewards, done some manipulation. I'm not interested. I want to go. I'm what? He's probably what, 83? I'm just throwing out ages. But he's a big old man now. You get me? He just wants to set up shop. Anyway, 31-32. With whomsoever. Now he's saying to him, with whomsoever thou findest thy gods, let him not live. Before our brethren, discern thou what is thine with me. So he's saying, yo, if you look amongst my things and you see your God, then safe, or okay, kill him, kill her, kill them. And he's saying to check it out and take it to thee. And he says, take your God back as well. For Jacob knew not that Rachel had stolen them. He knew not that yet Rachel had stolen them. So he's man's laying down a challenge, you know. Yo, I haven't stolen nothing. My people ain't stolen nothing. We're not thieves. We just wanted a break from Uno. You're stressing me out. If you find your God, then kill the person who took your God, and we'll just call it a day. All right, so where were we? And so he's laid down the challenge. If you find it, then deal with the person who took it. Obviously, my family ain't thieves. We lie, but we're not really thieves. You get me? We do that one sin, but we don't do them other sins. You get me? We're liars, but we're not thieves. That's what Jacob's saying. You know, right now my name's Deceiver. I lie, but I don't thief. I'm not a thief. I just, that's not me. That's not my family tree. All right. Anyway, and Laban went into Jacob's tent, and into Leah's tent, and into the two maidservants' tent, but he found them not. Then went he out of Leah's tent, and entered into Rachel's tent. Now Rachel had taken the images, and put them in the camel's furniture, and sat upon them. Sneaky. And Laban searched all the tent, but found them not. And she said to her father, Let it not displease my lord, but I cannot rise up before thee, for the custom of the woman is upon me. And he searched, but found not the images. So she's sitting on this. She's sitting on this camel's furniture. Wow, see how the stylish camel furniture, you know. Don't even know what that is. Just sounds very using colonial language. Sounds very exotic. You know what I'm saying? Camel furniture, you know. Okay. I think that was probably the Gucci back in the day, camel furniture. But anyway, she's on some camel furniture, and she said to her pops, Daddy, you know the custom for us women, in the presence of a man, we're not supposed to stand up. We're supposed to sit down. Very, like I say, man, it is what it is. Now, Rachel had taken the images and put them in the camel's furniture and sat upon them. And Laban searched all the tent, but found them not. And then she goes again. And she said to her father, Let it not displease my lord. She's saying, yo, check the, yo. She's saying to her pops, Let it not displease my lord, that I cannot rise up before thee. She's saying, yo, I don't want it to upset you if I stand up before you, because the custom of women, again, is to sit down. And he searched but found not the images. Okay, now what happened? And Jacob was wroth and chode with Laban. And Jacob answered and said to the Laban, What is my trespass? What is my sin? That thou hast so hotly pursued after me. Why, family's kicking off, you know. I thought my family had issues, but why, sir? They might kick off. They need Jerry Springer and Murray. They need them Jew chat show, you know. Don't know why the mic keeps locking off, you know. Why did she steal? Why did she steal? That's where we are. Okay, last slide and we're done. So why did she steal? Jasher 31, 39 to 45. Now we got more insight into the mindset of Rachel and why she did what she did, you know. So let's find out. Oh snap! Somebody said it was the time of the month, you know. Probably, yeah, that's a good boy. See that there? The power in the time of the month, you know. You can stop things and you know, things come to a halt during that season. You get me? All right. So why did she steal? Like, what was the thought process? Like, why is she stealing? Was she trying to be an idolater? Was Rachel not really? Oh, not Rachel. Yeah, Rachel. Was Rachel really a sneaky idolater like the Canaanite women? Was she secretly trying to worship Balaam, this mother of Joseph, Yusuf, and the Benjaminites, or Benjamin, or whatever? Was she really some undercover Kabbalah lover? Was she an undercover brother? Let's find out what her motive was and her psyche was, and let's do a case study on Auntie Rachel. Let's find out what going on. So this is the last slide, and we're done. You know, so here's what it is. Wrapping it up. Jasher 31, 39 to 45. And Laban did not know that Jacobi had gone from him, for Laban had been that day sheep sharing. So he was dealing with the sheep, cutting the fluff off or the wool off or whatever. And Rachel stole her father's images, and she took them, and she concealed them upon the camel, upon which she sat, and she went on. So I guess it weren't furniture, it was just a camel, but it's like, you know, like how you got Pimp My Ride, and you can put, you know, alloys and spoilers and NOS in the car. Like, this was the camel was the car, so she had like some Prada box on the camel, you know, bit of Da Vinci or machine. I don't even know what the brands are, but she had something, some stylish box on the camel, upon which she sat and went on. Okay, and this is the manner of the images. Let's find out. In taking a man who is the firstborn and slaying him, and taking the hair off his head, and taking salt and salting the head, and anointing it with oil, then taking a small tablet of copper, of a tablet of gold, and writing the name upon it. What kind of OBI is this? And placing the tablet under his tongue, and taking the head with the tablet under the tongue, and putting it in the house, and lighting up lights before it, and bowing down to it. What a weird custom. Anyway, and at the time when they bow down to it, it speaketh to them in all matters that they ask of it through the power of the name which is written in it. Interesting. And at the time when they bow down to it, it speaketh to them in all matters that they ask of it through the power of the name that's written in it. Okay, I just said that twice. And some make them in the figures of men, of gold and of silver, and go to them in times known to them, and the figures receive the influence of the stars and tell them future things, and in this manner were the images which Rachel stole from her father. Okay, so was Rachel some straight Kabbalah? Was she on some Dolce and Gabbana? What's going on with Rachel, man? She sounds a bit crazy. Okay, so that was the custom that was attached to this image. Apparently, Auntie Rachel took the image. Okay, and the image apparently is some Ubia thing, and you can read certain things that happen in the future or something, like the Witch of Endor who conjured up what they perceived to be Samuel from the grave, which was a demon. So, okay, so these demonic devices were going on back then. That's interesting. Okay, let's find out some more. So what's she doing, man? Why did she do this? And Rachel stole these images, which were her father's, in order that Laban might not know through them where Jacob had gone. And Laban came home, and he asked concerning Jacob and his household, and he was not to be found. And Laban sought his images to know where Jacob had gone, and could not find them. And he went to some other images, and he inquired of them, and they told him that Jacob had fled from him to his fathers to the land of Canaan. Interesting. So that's kind of what was going down in Chinatown. Pardon the corona. So that's what we see that was happening there. And that was the reason why she took the image, because I have a superstition. They thought it had the ability to tell the future. Or it literally was some straight up juju, and it was able to, by the work of whatever spirits and this, that, the other, was able to. And, you know, even today we see how these things are about, and we should avoid these practices. The Bible is more than adequate to tell us what's going to happen in the future. We don't need to see Mystic Meg, witches, warlocks, whatever, these people, these diviners, these clairvoyances, you know, this new age philosophy of spiritualism. So that's just very interesting. All right, so study is officially done, over. Hope you found all of that interesting. I'm going to be clipping the video to make it shorter, this, that, and the other. On my side, the sun has officially set. The Sabbath over here is officially over. By Yah's grace, I hope that everybody is able to be faithful, not just chosen and called, yeah, and to be a light in Goshen. Many people are looking for answers. Many people are soul searching at this time, which is a blessing. Corona has been a blessing for people to take time out and to think. Yeah, it's not just about raving, working to go to spend your money on alcohol, to spend your money on drugs, to just live a YOLO lifestyle, to be narcissistic. You know what I'm saying? Now is the time to say, okay, what's really going down? What's really going on? And by God's grace, I hope to see everybody in the kingdom that's hearing my voice. And also, I hope that I am also in the kingdom too. Heavenly Father, I pray that everyone gets a fresh revelation of your character and has a deeper understanding of your word, that we may be solidified in it, not shaken, not stirred, but built upon it like a bedrock, irremovable, unshakable, but also not just for knowledge attainment or for entertainment, but to be able to give others the opportunity to hear of your saving grace. And I ask all this in the name of your son, Yahushai, Yeshua. If you're still in, I just ask for that. I don't even know what to pray for half the time. And so half the time I just chat garbage in my prayers. But I just ask that ultimately, not my will, but thy will be done. Brothers and sisters, I hope you found this interesting and, as always, provoking thought.